Hello, this is your host, Adam Graham, from Pretty Much the Present. And in this video, we'll be bringing you a compilation of old-time radio detective podcasts from 2010. The podcasts are appearing, for the most part, unedited, except for some extraneous or repetitive elements that are being removed because this is a compilation. As I said, these are old, so any websites or offers mentioned may not be valid at the time you're listening unless you find them on our website currently. Now, with that said, here is a week of old-time radio detective podcast. Welcome to the Great Detectives of Old Time Radio. From Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham. Got a comment? Email it to me, box13@greatdetectives.net, and you can always follow us over on Twitter at Radio Detectives. Before we get into today's show, I do want to remind you about Audible. If you like The Thin Man, you may enjoy The Thin Man book. It's available as an audiobook from Audible, and you can actually get it free when you try Audible out for 14 days. You get a free audiobook, and you get to experience the benefits of the Audible service, which allows you to sample from classics and bestsellers alike. Go to audiblepodcast.com/oldtimeradio. Well, before we say farewell to Les Damon after this show, I should mention a little bit about him. He's best known for playing the Falcon in the vast majority of circulating episodes of The Falcon. He's in that role, but he's played other detectives as well, such as Mark Saber of the Homicide Squad over on ABC, and he also played Pat Abbott in The Adventures of the Abbotts. Anyway, let's get into today's episode of The Adventures of the Thin Man, this one from 1943 on CBS. It's The Wandering Corpse.
Roast Toasties, Toast Posties, present.
Hey, get that name right, my confused friend. It's Post Toasties. Post Toasties. Crisp, delicious Post Toasties present The Adventures of the Thin Man, starring Claudia Morgan and Les Damon. A basic 7 food with whole grain nourishment, Post Toasties. It's early evening, and we find our old friend Sheriff Ebenezer Williams ringing the doorbell of Nick and Nora Charles' apartment.
Ricky, darling, I didn't expect... Oh, Eb Williams.
Howdy, Nori.
Eb, darling, come in.
Well,
Where's Essie?
oh, she's coming on a later train. And don't let Essie hear you call me darling.
Everybody's a darling tonight, Eb. This is going to be the most wonderful anniversary Nicky and I ever had. If he remembers about it, the big goon.
Well, did he forget?
He didn't mention a word about it all day.
Oh, well, I reckon he's trying to tease you.
You look lovely, Eb.
Yeah, I got on my best bib and tucker. I saved these clothes for funerals and weddings. You look mighty spruce yourself, Nori.
Do you really think so, Eb? I got this evening gown especially for tonight.
Yeah?
Do you like it?
You seem to fill it out fine.
Oh, that must be Nicky now. Eb, don't you remind him that this is our anniversary. I want to see if he forgot.
What'll you do if he has?
Well, I can't make up my mind. Shall I blow his brains out or slit his throat?
Oh, slit his throat. Because if you try to blow his brains out, you might miss the target. It being so small, you know.
Nicky, darling.
Hello, baby.
Didn't you forget something, dear?
No, darling. Here's a half pound of butter you asked me to bring home.
Oh.
When I promised the grocer I'd marry his daughter, he let me have it.
Oh, hello, Eb.
Howdy, Nick.
Oh, awfully nice to see you again. What brought you to town?
Steam cars?
Oh, I thought there was something up.
Well, there is.
What?
Oh, I come in to see a fellow's throat slit.
Oh, whose?
Friend of mine.
Oh. Well, Nora and I haven't seen an interesting throat slitting in a long time. Can we come along?
Yes, be glad to have you.
Say, Nora, what are you all dressed up for? And Eb, you're all dolled up, too. Why?
For the funeral of the fellow that's going to get his throat slit.
Oh, well, I guess I better change. I'll see you in a minute.
Oh, Eb, he completely forgot.
Oh, I don't think so. See if that package really has got butter into it.
Oh, I didn't think of that. Oh, Eb.
Huh?
It is butter.
Well, what you crying for? Butter has its points.
Oh, that big goon. He'll see if I'll ever marry him again. Oh, why do I love a husband I hate so much? Oh, just a minute.
Oh, Mrs. Charles?
Yes.
I'm Mr. Squiller of Squiller Incorporated. Flowers for the dead, dying, and married. Where shall I put this?
Oh, the flowers. Oh, over there.
Very well.
Do you have a cold?
No, I'm allergic to blossoms. Miss Charles.
Yes.
May I extend my deepest and heartfelt condolences on this occasion?
Oh, well, thank you. What did you say?
I saw you crying when I came in. Perhaps he's happier in another world.
Mm-hmm.
Who can tell? My deepest sympathies, madam. My heart bleeds for you. You'll get my bill in the morning. Goodbye.
Allergy in a country churchyard. Look at that bunch of posies he sent.
Wonder if I'm celebrating an anniversary or winning a horse race. Let's see what the ribbon says. Oh!
Darling, how do you like the flowers? Aren't they lovely?
Beautiful, dear. I'm just mad about the inscription. Rest in peace.
Huh?
So appropriate for an anniversary.
What are you talking about?
That there ribbon, Nick. Couldn't they get you one that said success?
Here, let me see. Lilies. This is a funeral bower. Where are the jewels?
What jewels, dear?
I bought a necklace and told him to send it with the flowers.
You expect me to believe that?
But I did.
You forgot our anniversary entirely.
Oh, darling, don't you see? I did send you flowers.
They were delivered here by mistake.
But I bought a gift for you, too.
You're just making that up. You don't love me anymore.
But I do love you.
You hear that, Eddie? He's shouting at me now.
I'm going back to the flower shop and find out what happened.
You mean you're running out to buy me something? Oh, I know all your little tricks.
All right. You can come along, and you can come, too, Eb, as a witness.
Maybe that funeral wreath isn't so inappropriate for our wrecked marriage. Rest in peace. Oh, Eb.
Oh, please, don't scream at me so. I can't bear it, Mr. Childs. It drives me mad.
Gesundheit.
Oh, look, Mr. Squiller, all I want to know is who got the necklace I left with you.
If he left any necklace.
Which I'm beginning to doubt.
Don't confuse me so, please. I'm suffering acutely from allergies. I'm sneezing my brains out. I hardly know what I'm doing anymore.
All right, look, I'll make it simple. I got a funeral wreath. Now, you must have delivered my flowers and the jewelry to somebody else.
Do you suppose that's what I did?
Yes, I do. Probably you sent it to the person who was supposed to get the funeral wreath.
Why, of course, I remember now. How perfectly idiotic of me.
Yes, well, where did you send my jewels and the flowers?
Let me see. Now, here's the card. Mrs. Gwen Gray Gilroy, 1408 East 86th Street.
Gwen Gray Gilroy. Nicky, isn't she that showgirl who threatened to commit suicide when you married me?
Which one do you mean, dear?
The one you nicknamed Strikeout, because she had so many curves. She called you Sugar Man.
Oh, I'm sure it's not the same person.
She married a millionaire named Gilroy. I read it in the papers. Nick, have you been sending her flowers and jewelry?
Oh, look, what am I getting into here? No, this is just a simple mix-up. Probably due to Mr. Squiller's allergy.
I'm so sorry all this happened. My nose is just driving me crazy.
Why don't you quit the flower business if you're allergic to flowers?
Well, how can I quit when I'm losing money? It's a vicious circle, starting from my nose and ending with my bank account. Believe me, when I think of my troubles, I could weep.
Come, Nicky. We're going to Mrs. Gilroy's. And if what I suspect is true, you're going to be dead before morning.
Oh, will he really, Mrs. Charles?
Yeah, you can depend upon it, Mr. Squilla.
In that case, remember where to buy your flowers for the funeral, Mrs. Charles.
Just a moment. Why, Sugar Man.
Strike out.
So, it is her. Sugar Man, you found out about poor Virgil dying and you came back to me.
No, not exactly strikeout. This is my wife, Nora.
Oh, how do you do? Not as well as you seem to be doing.
And this is my friend, Sheriff Ebenezer Williams.
Howdy, Strikeout. Does that coffin contain the remains of your late spouse?
Yes.
Now, look, Gwen. There's been a kind of mix-up. Did Mr. Squilla deliver some flowers to you?
Yes, Nicky, they're at the head of the casket. Why?
Was there a package with them?
I don't know. I wasn't here when they arrived.
Let's take a look, Nick. Maybe it's with the flowers.
Yes, come on.
How did he work out as a husband, Nora? Not badly.
Don't seem to be here, Nick.
I'll open the casket, Eb. Maybe that idiotic florist put it in there.
Maybe he was playing treasure hunter.
Hey, look! The casket's empty.
Godfrey, nobody home.
What are you talking about?
Strikeout, your husband's body isn't here. The casket's empty.
Virgil gone? Say, that jerk can't do this to me.
Too bad Nick didn't send that package by post.
Toasties, Ted.
Huh?
Whenever you say post, follow up quick with toasties. Post toasties. You know, delicious, crisper cornflakes.
Oh, yeah, but I'm talking about a package.
Large or small. You know, Ted, post toasties come in different size packages.
Well, sure they do. And, my friend, when you always buy the largest package instead of the smallest size, you save up to 17 cents on every dollar spent for post toasties. Now, that's something you can count on, a basic saving.
Hey, did you say basic 7?
But, you know, post toasties are a basic 7 food, one type of food our government urges us to eat for wartime strength and fitness. Post toasties are a swell source of quick energy with whole grain nourishment, including iron, niacin, vitamin B1.
Oh, what do you know? I've been eating post toasties just because they taste so good.
Well, you keep right on, my friend. Enjoy that good ripe corn flavor, that toasty crispness, that valuable whole grain nourishment. Enjoy Post Toasties. A delicious, nourishing, crisper basic 7 food, Post Toasties. Now, back to tonight's adventure of the Tin Man. Mrs. Gwen Gray Gilroy, known to Nick and Nora as Strikeout, has just found that her husband's body is not in the coffin. We heard her say,
Virgil gone? Say, that jerk can't do this to me.
Maybe he stole the necklace and beat it.
He couldn't. He was dead.
Are you sure of that, Gwen?
Sure, certainly. I saw him croak with my own eyes.
Well, somebody stole that necklace.
Somebody stole my husband's body.
I reckon there's a crook around here, by Godfrey.
Well, come on, Eb. We're going to turn this place inside out. I'm sure it's... Say, here's the body.
Where?
Behind the sofa.
You must have misplaced it, Strikeout.
Well, how did it get there?
I reckon he was just hiding to scare us. Say, Strikeout, is that a picture of the deceased?
Yes. And he didn't die of disease. Heart attack, the doctor said.
Looky, Nick. That there ain't a picture of the corpse.
Let me see. Oh.
Gwen, is that Virgil?
No, it's somebody else.
Where'd you get him, Gwen?
I don't know. Oh, this is awful.
Hey, wait a minute. I found something here.
What is it, Nick? Another cadabra?
No. It's a bill from the Luxury Deluxe Hotel in this fellow's pocket. It's $1.25 for a week's board.
Reasonable.
Yes. This hotel's down on the Bowery.
Sugar Man, won't you find poor Virgil's body for me? The funeral's all arranged, and I have a lovely black dress already.
Never mind about that body, Nick. You'd better find that necklace, if there was one stolen.
Nick, do you think the same crook that stole the body stole the necklace?
You've got something there, Ed. We're going to the Luxury Deluxe Hotel right now.
Oh, this is awful. This is terrible.
No. Don't take it too hard, Strikeout. Your husband had to go sometime.
That's not why I'm crying. Suppose Virgil is alive, I won't collect a penny. Oh, he's just got to be dead.
Good evening, friends. Welcome to the Luxury Deluxe Hotel.
No opium smoking and no murder allowed.
Oh, a respectable joint.
I thought we was coming to one of these here low dives. Awful disappointing.
Well, friends, would you like a room with a window or just a room?
Not exactly. You see...
Here, my friend.
Where'd you get my watch?
Oh, that's just to show how honest we are. Don't you recognize me, Nicky?
Oh, Dippy Danny, the pickpocket. What are you doing here?
Well, I decided to go straight for the duration. My contribution to the war effort.
Danny, this is my wife, Nora.
Oh, how do you do? Are you a very experienced pickpocket, Mr. Dippy?
No, I've had me hands in some of the most well-greased pockets in this country. Here's your change, please.
Oh, thank you.
And this is my old friend, Eb Williams.
Howdy, Dippy.
Hello, son. Here's your wallet.
Mr. Dippy looks so... Godfrey, how do you do it?
I'll show you later if you want to know. Hey. What you got in that sheet over your shoulder, son?
All right, Eb. Put him down there and uncover him.
Okay, baby, dokey. Easy does it.
You recognize him, Danny?
Kind of stiff, huh? Yeah, I know him.
Who is he?
Fellow named Joe Jones. Died here 3 days ago.
We found him in a swanky apartment uptown. How'd he get there?
Well, it's kind of a queer story. A dame come in and wanted a dead body.
What?
Yeah. She wanted to rent one. I told her I had one, so I rented them to her for $2.
Is renting bodies part of your regular line of business here?
No, but I don't mind picking up a little spare change now and then. A fella needs it, you know, what with taxes.
Yeah, sure. What else do you know about this woman?
Well, she rented a room here. It's right down the hall. You want to see it?
Yes, I certainly do. What's her name?
Mrs. John Smith, she says. You think she was lying, Nick?
What does she look like?
I couldn't see. She was wearing a black veil. Here's the room.
Oh, it looks like an ideal honeymoon suite for a couple of zombies. Oh, look, Nick.
Well, say, what do you know? That's the body of Strikeout's husband.
Yes, and he's been struck out, all right. But good. Here, look at the eyes, Ed. He's been poisoned.
Murdered, by Godfrey.
I knew it. Can't we ever have an anniversary without a murder?
Nora, you and Eb go home. There's some checking up I want to do. I'll be there in an hour.
All right, Nick. I'll be glad to get out of this terrible place.
Wait a minute. Did you say he was poisoned, Nick?
Yes, Danny, why?
He should have known better. It's against the rules of the hotel.
The only way we'll find out who stole that necklace is by solving this murder. I'd like to have a nice, cozy talk with Strikeout.
Oh, no, you don't. Not on my wedding anniversary.
But, well, Eb, you think you can find out what I want to know from Strikeout?
Sure thing. You know how I handle women, Nick.
All right, Eb. You get her to tell you everything she can about Barton Bellows.
Yeah?
She's been seen around with him. Find out if she's got a black veil and find out just what happened when her husband died.
All right, I'll go right now.
And be careful, Eb. Strikeout can be dangerous when she's cornered.
I'll keep her away from corners, then. See you later, Nick.
Bye.
Who are you calling, Nick?
Barton Bellows, maybe.
Oh.
Hello, Mr. Bellows' residence.
Oh, are you Mr. Bellows' maid?
Yeah?
Are you happy working for Mr. Bellows?
Well, I don't know. Why?
Well, my name's Nick Charles. Maybe I can offer you a better job. Do you like it there?
Well, Mr. Bellows ain't married, so we don't have a wife who'll let me wear a fur coat like in the last job I had.
Oh, well, my wife would let you wear hers.
Can I speak to your wife?
Why, sure. Nora, get her to quit her job right now. Not only is it necessary, but we can also get a maid.
Oh. Hello?
Your husband says I can wear your fur coat if I wait for you.
Well, of course.
What kind of a coat have you got?
Persian lamb.
Oh, Persian lamb. I can get lots of jobs with a Persian lamb coat.
Oh, but I also have a mink coat.
Oh, mink? That's more like it. How much will you pay?
Well, how much do you get?
$30 a week.
I'll give you 40.
2 nights off a week, and can I use the telephone when I want?
Yes.
Also, can I have my boyfriend in Saturday night?
Yes, of course.
That's the kind of a job I want.
Then you must quit right now and come over here. The address is 409 Park Drive.
Okay, I'll be there right away.
I hope you don't think it's odd, my stealing you from Mr. Bellows over the phone this way.
Oh, no. That's how he got me. It's wonderful being a maid these days, Mrs. Charles. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Well, we've got a maid. So now what?
So now, Nora, you're going to find out a few things about Barton Bellows for me. You are going to be a Swedish maid applying for a job.
Oh, you mean a vain girl who scrubs clean like anything by Jumpen Jiminy? Good evening. Are you Mr. Bellows?
Yes?
A vain expert Swedish maid, cook, housekeeper, nurse, a laundress, and dishwasher. I have used to quit a job and told my madam to go to... maybe you have a job for me?
Do I have a job for you? Come right in. You were sent from heaven.
No, I come from Brooklyn.
I mean, my maid just quit. I need someone to take care of my house. I'll pay you anything you want.
Oh, is that picture of your wife?
Well, no, not exactly.
This beautiful woman, she writes, to Boston, the one and only in my life, all my love, Gwen. If she's not your wife, why does she love you?
Well, she's kind of a friend of mine. I'm not married.
Oh, not married? I am not married, too.
Well, I hope you'll like this job. I'll do anything you want to make you happy.
Will you marry me?
Well, no.
I think I go home.
No, please. I mean, I'll be nice to you. That won't be hard. You're very pretty.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think maybe I stay. Look at this drawer, so messy. Full of old letters.
Oh, what are you doing there?
I must see if you'll pay your bill. I don't work for a man who does not pay his bill. Here is interesting letter. Dearest Barton, I don't think poor Virgil can live very much longer. The old goat is due to kick the bucket soon, and we can get married.
Give me that.
It is from that Gwen. So you want to marry her?
Well, that's none of your business.
Where I work, everything is my business. Aha. You have a little bottle here, a little bottle of pills. I wonder what they are.
Yes, don't open that.
Take your hands off me or I smack your face. Here is your bottle of pills. I don't think they would be so good for me anyway.
I think you'd better leave. I'm afraid I can't use it.
Leave? You bet by Jiminy I leave. They will not work such filthy place. Look at these dishes.
Get out of here.
You insult me. I quit. Look at this bath. Filthy. Ye are a beast. Good night.
Are you sure he was poisoned?
Yeah. Now, you better tell me all you know about it, Strikeout. This is murder. You can go to jail for that, by Godfrey.
Have you told the police yet?
No.
Don't tell them, Debbie. I'm sure they'll suspect me. You will be a nice little boy and not mention a word about it.
Well, it ain't easy to keep a thing like this secret.
I know, but won't you do this for poor little me?
If you kept the thing like... Ain't you misplaced your arm, Strikeout?
Oh, don't misunderstand, Debbie. I'm just telling you because I'm frightened. You're just like my daddy. You know what he used to do when I was frightened?
Don't knock my derby off. What?
He used to hold me in his arms like this and then kiss me like this.
Your daddy done that?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet papa.
You're sweet too, Debbie. You won't call the police. Will you, Daddy?
Well, I reckon I'll think about it. Where's your clothes closet, Strikeout?
There. Why?
I just want to take a look. You wear this black veil very much?
What do you want with that veil?
Hello, darling. I see you have company.
Barton, I didn't hear you come in. Eb, this is Barton Bellows.
Howdy, Barton.
Hello. Gwen, I've got to talk to you.
And I got to see you, too. They found Virgil's body.
I'll open it.
Oh, hello, Eb.
Why, Nora and Nick. Come in, Jim.
Eb, your lipstick smeared.
I reckon I got that comforting Strikeout here.
Sugar man, you won't let him call the police, will you? Just wait a day until I see my lawyer.
Strikeout, is that man Barton Bellows?
That's him.
The Swedish maid. Say, what is this all about? You'll find out in a minute. Mr. Bellows, you better sit down.
Sugar man, what are you going to do?
Strikeout, who was here on the night that your husband got killed?
Just Barton and me and Virgil. Why?
When did he die?
About 9 o'clock. We had brandy in this very room. Then Virgil stood up and collapsed.
What did he do with the body?
Barton put a sheet over him. I was hysterical, so Barton gave me a sedative, and I went to bed.
I see. Ed, did you find anything here?
Yeah, this black veil, Nick. Just like the kind that your pal Dipper sees.
Nicky, sugar man, what's the veil got to do with all this?
Gwen, the person who murdered your husband tried a very slick trick. The killer obtained the body of a man who died naturally and put it under that sheet to deceive the examining doctor. Your husband's body was hidden in the luxury deluxe hotel in the Bowery.
It was hidden there by a woman who wore a black veil, Gwen.
The killer had only one problem. The bodies had to be exchanged again. The poisoned man's body would have been buried, and nobody would even know your husband was murdered, Gwen.
Isn't he brilliant?
Only one thing went wrong with this almost perfect murder, Gwen. The killer planned to change the bodies tonight. But after the corpse of the Bowery derelict was removed from the coffin, there was an interruption. Flowers arrived. The flowers that were sent here by mistake. So the killer quickly hid the corpse behind the sofa.
Well, how do you know that?
I checked with Mr. Squiller, the florist. He heard something being moved about just before he came in. Now, whoever moved that corpse is the killer. Now, Gwen, the elevator boy said you left word when you went out to let Mr. Squiller in with the building's passkey. That sounds like a good alibi, but can you prove you were out of the house at that time, Gwen?
You're not going to get away with this. Grab her, Nick. She's going for that drawer.
I got, don't
Get
try
her
it.
up.
Good, by Godfrey.
Stand back, all of you. First one who makes a move to touch you, he's going to get killed. I'm getting out of here. All right. Who's turning off the light? Nick, you're going to get away. All right, go.
Here, light a match.
Okay.
Nora, turn on that switch. That one over there.
All right.
Ed, take this gun and cover Bellows. Shoot the kill if he tries anything.
Are you crazy? She was trapped and she committed suicide. The gun's still in her hand. She shot herself.
Nicky, is she dead?
No, baby, it's just a flesh wound. She'll be okay. Phone the police and tell them to send an ambulance.
All right.
Bellows, you're under arrest for murder.
You don't know what you're talking about. Her attempt to kill herself proves she's guilty.
You see Gwen's wristwatch? The crystal doesn't get crushed when you try to commit suicide. It got crushed when you grabbed her arm in the dark and twisted it and turned the gun on her. You murdered her husband. Nora got one of the poison pills you used when she went to your apartment. You'll never be able to prove this.
I got proof already, pal. For instance, you're the only one that would be familiar enough with this room to know where the light switch is. And what's more, you left fingerprints all over that room at the Hotel Luxury Deluxe when you come down there in the dress and clothes that you stole from Gwen.
Yes, what else have I done?
You stole your necklace, Nick. Here it is.
Where'd you get that?
Out of your pocket.
Why, Eb, I didn't know you were a pickpocket.
I got Danny the Dipper to show me how to do it.
Well, that about clinches it, Bellows. That proves you were here when the flowers arrived. You murdered Virgil Gilroy because you wanted to marry Strikeout after she inherited his dough. And stop shivering, Bellows. You'll be warmed up soon enough.
Will you pull the covers up, darling? It's getting chilly.
Okay. There, is that better?
Mm-hmm. What made Barton Bellows steal the necklace?
Well, he got cold feet when he was interrupted by Squiller. He figured it would come in handy if he had to clear out in a hurry and needed money fast.
Why'd Strikeout pull that gun?
Well, she thought she was being framed, and she lost her head. There, does that clear up everything?
Mm-hmm. Darling, it was a lovely anniversary. Even if we did have to celebrate rather late.
Uh-huh. Should we go to sleep, dear?
No. Let's stay up and remember old times. That's what people should do on anniversaries.
Oh, but Nora, I want to sleep.
You didn't feel that way on our wedding night.
No?
You're getting old, Nicky.
Who's getting old? I can stay awake forever if I want to. Me getting old? It's ridiculous. I can stay up all night for a week if I want to. I just don't want to now.
You're fibbing. You can't.
Okay, I'll show you. Let's talk about anything you want to, as long as you want to.
Nicky, do you remember what you said when I first met you?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say? Well, Nicky. Nicky, are you sleeping? Silly goose. Good night, Nicky, darling.
when that sleepy pair wake up in the morning, they'll be ready for breakfast. So I'll just slip out the kitchen and see what's there. The icebox, there's cream, milk, pears. Oh, yeah, there it is, right up there on the pantry shelf. Post Toasties, all the makings for a swell breakfast dish. Crisp Post Toasties with juicy, ripe sliced pears on top and rich milk over all. Boy, these delicious cornflakes taste so good and stay so crisp. Why, there's a wake-up smile in every tempting spoonful. Yes, and Post Toasties are a swell source of quick food energy and valuable nourishment. Whole grain nourishment, including iron, niacin, vitamin B1. Post Toasties are one type of cereal nutritionists say we should be sure and eat every morning. Yes, the breakfast including fruit, milk, toast, a beverage, and a generous helping of Post Toasties is a nourishing, adequate breakfast. One that'll help prevent mid-morning fatigue, help promote good spirits and real working efficiency. So keep that in mind, won't you? And tomorrow, well, every morning, help yourself to get off to a good start with a really good breakfast, including Post Toasties, a delicious, crisper, Basic 7 food. Post Toasties. Tune in next week to radio's most popular mystery comedy, The Adventures of the Thin Man, brought to you by Crisp Post Toasties, a Basic 7 food. Listen next week when Nick and Nora investigate the stolen jewelry racket and discover it's a short step from hot rhinestones to cold tombstones. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. I love the Swedish Maid routine by Nora Charles. That was a classic. And of course, a reminder of why husbands are well advised to always remember their anniversary. It's a nice blend of comedy and mystery. This episode's also the first one where we get to hear Eb Williams, who's actually a pretty fun character. He's got this Vermont accent. At least that's kind of where when I hear that, it's on the radio. It's kind of a New England country accent. I don't know who plays him. It does sound a little bit like Joseph Kearns. We'll see if we learn later on during the series. We have a comment on Facebook from Zant, who writes in, really like the Father Brown series. Too bad there were only 2. Well, thanks so much, Zant. Much appreciated. I am actually looking at, in the near future, doing another Chesterton story. The Man Who Was Thursday, from the Mercury Theater, with Orson Welles in the role for one of our mystery specials. So much appreciated there. Before we do get started with today's program, I do want to remind you to be sure and check out the Entertainment Book. The Entertainment Book is chock full of great bargains and discounts on merchants in your area. Each book is individualized to a particular city in the United States or Canada, and also comes with a great variety of discounts as well on travel, dry cleaning, and so many other services. And best of all, on the Entertainment Book website, you can see what services are available and if it'll work for you. So I encourage you to go to entertainment.greatdetectives.net to take a look at the Entertainment Book in your area. Well, this is actually one of my favorite pairings for Nero Wolfe. And we only have one episode of this mutual series, The Amazing Nero Wolfe, but this is one I would really like there to be more of. Pairing is great because you have 2 great actors. In the role of Nero Wolfe, you have Francis X. Bushman, who before the age of Clark Gable was known as King of the Movies. Great silent film star with a long career in film and radio. And he does a great job as Wolfe, even though he's probably one of the thinnest actors to take on the role. Elliott Lewis, on the other hand, was a young up-and-coming actor. A year after he finished this series, or 2 years, I should say, he did Voyage of the Scarlet Queen, an absolutely classic show. And then he, kind of like Jack Webb, proceeded to work behind the mic. He worked on shows like Suspense and Broadway Is My Beat. And actually didn't get too much into television, did a few different television series. But when there were radio revival shows in the 1970s, he came back with shows like the 0 Hour with Rod Serling and the Sears and Mutual Radio Theater.
and he's got a great voice, somewhat reminiscent of Howard Duff. And he and Duff were actually good friends, so this is actually a very spirited performance. So let's go ahead and we'll take a listen to the amazing Nero Wolfe and the case, the Shakespeare Folio.
For soft, smooth, romantic hands, Jergens Lotion. Jergens, the makers of Jergens Lotion for soft, smooth, romantic hands, present The Amazing Nero Wolfe, starring Francis X. Bushman as Nero Wolfe, the celebrated criminologist, and Elliott Lewis as Archie. If you've ever been spattered by an enthusiastic puppy who's been out in the rain, then you can sympathize with Nero Wolfe's feelings about his secretary, Archie Goodwin. No umbrella is wide enough, no raincoat large enough to protect the corpulent detective against Archie's enthusiastic splashing in the field of crime. Perhaps it's poetic justice, then, that Archie should also be victimized in his turn by a blundering St. Bernard in the person of 1 minus, so called because he's minus 1 brain.
Hi, Archie.
Oh, Minus. Hello.
I was kind of waiting for you.
Oh, don't think I'm not flattered, Minus, but doesn't anybody else ride in that cab of yours? Suppose I want to walk home.
Mr. Wolfe don't like you to do that, Archie.
Well, I'm overwhelmed by his solicitude.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh, skip it. Look, Minus, would it be all right with you if I breathed a little fresh air?
No, that's all right with me. Like I heard a guy say, live and leave live.
Well, then let's leave live by all means. Okay. Unharness the horsepower.
Huh? What horse?
No, never mind. Drive.
Oh, yeah. You was visiting a dame?
Visiting?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A dame, well...
Hey, Arch.
Yeah?
Is it true what they say about dames?
Definitely. I mean, what do they say about them?
Well, some fellas say, that dames, that they is the mercenary type. Is that a fact?
Well, frankly, Minus, I wouldn't know. No dame has been mercenary with me since the 7th grade in PS 198. That was the year when I cornered the Miggy's market, you know.
Oh? How'd she make out?
Well, I had to take up checkers after she got through with me. Hey, watch that red light, Minus.
How can I watch the light to see where I'm driving at the same time?
Well, you got 2 eyes, haven't you?
Yeah, but they both see the same thing. Ain't that surprising?
Almost as amazing as the ears business.
No, that ain't so, Archie.
Oh, look, don't tell me you hear different things with each ear.
No, only my left ear don't hear nothing. The drum has been punctuated.
Puncture? Pardon me while I go into a comma.
Hey, Archie, you know I got a lot of commas.
Will you say that again, Minus? Slowly?
I'm loaded with commas. And you know how come? I just bought a book for $25.
You bought a book? Minus, can you read?
No, not good, but heck, Archie, I didn't buy the book for reading.
Oh, silly of me, of course not. Nobody buys a book for reading. What did you buy it for?
Sitting. You see, Archie, this ain't a new cab.
Oh, it isn't?
No. And the driver's seat has been sagging, see? The springs in it give up.
Archie and the springs, we both give up.
Well, I gotta have springs on account of I was beginning to sit so low I could only see the sky when I was driving. You know, Archie, the sky's a beautiful thing. Them colors, them sunsets.
Oh, Minus, you have poetry in your soul.
Yeah, but I didn't have no springs in me seat. So when I seen this big fat book for only $25, I bought it. Now I sit on the book.
And no more sunsets, huh? Would it be indelicate to inquire what book you're sitting on? I mean the title.
Oh, big words. Something about the improvement of the understanding.
Minus, you couldn't have bought a better book for the purpose, now that the improvement of the undersitting is out of print, of course.
A cereal, huh?
Yeah, no paper.
Hey. Boy, hey, Arch. That other car nearly socked it.
Well, sock it back.
Huh?
Never mind, just let it get past us.
Yeah, but it don't want it. See? It's headed right at us again.
Well, pull ahead fast. Maybe you can get out of its way. Whoever's driving it must be nuts.
Yeah, well, I gotta get out of the way then. Hey. No, the guy's shooting at us. What'll they be thinking of next?
About improving their aim, I guess. That car's behind us. I can't see who's at the wheel, but whoever it is, I don't like him. Minus, can you speed up a little?
Well, I'll try, but this cab ain't got but one speed.
Ooh, that was close. Pulling up on us. Minus, see that lunch wagon up ahead?
Yeah.
Drive right up the front steps.
Yeah, but Archie, I ain't hungry.
Do what I tell you. It's our only chance. We got to attract attention and companionship.
Are you lonely, Archie?
Minus!
amazing Nero Wolfe, brought to you by the makers of Jergens Lotion, will continue in just a moment. But first, this is Jim Bannon, who lately heard a nice woman say to her son,
About your welcome home party, dear. We must ask Dorothy.
Okay, Mother, if you say so.
Well, you don't sound enthusiastic, dear. Don't you like Dorothy? She's such a nice girl.
Oh, she's a nice girl, I guess, but well, gosh, Mother, does she have to have such red, rough hands?
No, no girl has to have rough hands, no matter what work she does. There's Jergens Lotion, and Jergens gives the hands very efficient softness protection. And now you know Jergens Lotion is more effective than ever. During the war, we made discoveries about skin care which Jergens scientists used to make Jergens Lotion even finer. Women say this post-war Jergens Lotion protects even longer, makes the hands feel even smoother and softer. It's in the stores now, same bottle. So don't let rough hands handicap you. Just be surer than ever now and help keep your hands delightful with Jergens Lotion. And now back to the Jergens Lotion program, The Amazing Nero Wolfe, starring Francis X. Bushman and Elliott Lewis.
Minus, you all right?
I ain't sure. Hey, Archie, look what I got sitting in me lap. The radiator.
A hot number, huh? Drop it.
Okay.
Ow. Take it easy. Hey, Minus, you better climb out of there.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute, Archie. Well, I must have cut my jugular vein. I'm bleeding to death.
Here, let me see.
Mortuary, huh? Archie, I'm leaving you the cab.
Minus, that isn't blood. Taste it.
Taste? Okay. Ketchup.
Good, huh? A pistol-packing monster must have scrammed. Come on, we better get home.
Hey, what do you mean driving into my wagon like this?
Oh, we thought it was a drive-in, you know.
We'll be going to the dog. What do you want?
A hamburger on a bun. I already got the ketchup.
Minus. Look, mister, it was an accident. Here's a couple of bucks. We'll send a towing car to get the cab out of your joint, but we're in a hurry at the moment. Minus.
Yeah?
Grab that sitting book and let's go.
What do you want the book for? You want something to read?
Not exactly, but I could use something to improve my understanding. So you see, Mr. Wolfe, how narrowly we escaped a fate worse than death.
Archie, no histrionics, please.
Oh.
Now, your conclusions.
Oh, the book. Nobody loves me well enough to kill me. Minus hadn't been bothered before he bought that book, therefore...
It seems probable. Minus?
Huh? Oh, I was just looking into this here volume. Hey, listen to what this guy says. There is a devil haunts thee in the likeness of an old fat man. A ton of man is thy companion. Hey, Archie, was he writing about Mr. Wolfe?
Confound you, Minus.
Then he says, peace, ye fat guts, lie down.
Yeah.
And the other guy says, have you any levers to lift me up again, being down? Hey, Archie, the guy who wrote that must have been acquainted with your boss.
Blast you, he's been dead for 300 years. That was from Henry IV, Part 1, Act 2, Scenes 2 and 4. By one, William Shakespeare.
I never heard of him.
Well, he's a fairly well-known type English playwright, Minus.
But then who was he writing about?
Somebody called Falstaff, I think.
Falstaff? Falstaff? Oh, you mean that poet on the radio with Fred Allen?
For the time being, Minus, we will accept that definition. Now, let me see that book.
Yeah, here you are, Mr. Wolfe.
Down with... Yes, false cover. And underneath... Good heavens.
Huh?
A first folio Shakespeare.
Is that bad?
Are you sure, boss?
Quite sure.
Well, then no wonder Minus and I were targets for tonight. Boss, how much is that thing worth?
Thousands, Archie. Heaven alone knows how many.
Holy gee. Hey, Archie, I got a bargain.
You're likely to get a few bullets for the same price, too. I hope I'm not a good prophet. Shall I scream for help, boss, or open the door?
Open the door. I'm curious to see who it is.
Okay. And if I die, I will have died for literature.
Hello.
I'd rather live. Hello.
May I come in?
You'd better. If my eyes pop any further, they'll fall out of my face.
Very sweet of you to say that.
Archie, will you shut that blasted door?
Miss Wolfe's getting restless. This way, please. By the way, my name is Archie.
I'm Susan Lee.
Susan. Beautiful name. Oh, Mr. Wolfe, Miss Lee.
Hey, Archie.
Oh, yes, Minus. Miss Lee.
We have met before.
Oh, yes. You're the gentleman I sold the wrong book to.
Sure. She's the dame at Crown Bookstore.
Oh, this book, Miss Lee?
Yes, that's the one, Mr. Wolfe. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, but I really shouldn't have sold that book.
Why not?
Well, I'm very attached to it.
Oh, indeed.
Yes, you see, I went to school with its author.
Oh, you carry your 300 years very well, Susan.
Oh, well...
Archie means, of course, that Spinoza, who wrote The Improvement of the Understanding, lived 300 years ago.
Why, yes, of course he did. What I meant was that I studied the book in high school.
Spinoza in high school?
Well, it was a very progressive school.
Yes, no doubt. And you're a very bad liar.
How dare you say a thing like that? I'm just trying to... Oh, I am a bad liar, aren't I?
Among the poorest in my long experience of liars. Why do you want the book, Miss Lee?
Because I'll lose my job if I don't get it back. Mr. Garvey was furious. He's my boss. He owns the Crown Bookstore.
I see. Tell me, Miss Lee, did Minus leave his name, address, and probable whereabouts when he bought the book?
No, of course not. But you see, his buying a book on philosophy seems so odd.
Oh, yes? Well, I'll have you know, young lady, that I'm a student of what you said.
Yes. So I noticed his license number. And then when Mr. Garvey returned and made such a fuss about the book, I called the police, and they told me that cab had just entered a lunch wagon. I went to the lunch wagon, and, well, here I am.
So you are. However, I'm afraid Minus has grown attached to the book. As he said, he's a student of philosophy. Therefore, I'm afraid he's quite determined to let the purchase stand.
Oh, but he can't. I'll lose my job.
Well, perhaps he'll help you find another one.
Oh, but that's unfair. The book only costs $25, and I'm willing to pay him for his lost time.
Can you assess the risk of death, Miss Lee?
What?
Minus was almost killed as a result of his innocent desire for the higher thoughts.
Yeah, me too.
Be still, Archie. You never had a higher thought in your life.
Okay. You take the higher thoughts, and I'll take the lower thoughts, and I better have a lot more fun than you.
How can you joke about something that's so serious to me?
Archie, take Miss Lee back to her bookstore. You will explain to Mr. Garvey that the purchaser of the book is an opinionated and stubborn character who refused to return it.
Who, me?
That may help absolve Miss Lee of the responsibility. And now, good night.
But
Sorry, Susan. He's got his eyes closed, and when he does that, it's a lost cause. Come on, we'll go see Mr. Garvey. If necessary, I'll knock him down for you.
All right. It is sweet of you.
Oh, think nothing of it. Susan, may I call you Miss Lee? You know, Susan, I should have bought more books in the past.
Why, Archie?
Well, then I might have met you sooner, and my life might have been a far, far better one than it is now.
Oh, is anything seriously wrong with it?
Well, nothing that a good woman couldn't cure. I mean, Crown Bookstore. Well, this your little corner of learning?
Yes, and when I think of what Mr. Garvey will say. Oh, well, let's go in.
All righty. Books.
Lots of them.
Well, then why is Garvey so upset about the one you sold?
I don't know, Archie, but... Hey, this is funny.
What is?
Mr. Garvey, he should be here.
Oh, maybe he's shot.
Archie.
Yeah, I heard that. See him come from the back.
He must be in the stockroom.
I think we better take stock then. You stay out here.
Archie, you don't think...
Let's suspend intellectual operations for a minute, huh? This the door?
Yes.
I'll see. Susan?
Yes?
This Garvey?
Has anything happened to him? Oh. Yes, Archie. That's Mr. Garvey.
Better start looking for another job, Susan.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. He's dead. And get that phone. No, let me. Must be Wolfe. This is no time for the kind of phone conversations he likes. Yeah.
Archie?
Uh-huh.
Dead?
Very. Bullets.
How long?
Just now.
Notify the police.
Yeah.
Instruct them to compare the bullets with which he was shot with those embedded in Miner's cab. Then come home alone.
Right. Hey, wait a minute. Who do you think is dead?
Garvey, naturally.
What's natural about it?
Shakespeare, Henry IV, Part 1. He oweth God a death.
And that, Mr. Wolfe, is the story of my adventures among the books.
And Miss Lee?
Very nice. I mean, she was upset.
Police?
Upset, too, but not nice.
I see. No arrests as yet?
No, they got a couple of guys in mind.
On what evidence?
We'll see in reading a book.
Archie, you dismay me.
Oh, that's about what I do to Miss Lee. I think I'll go to sleep and dream about Miss Lee.
Fiddlesticks, you have work to do.
At this hour?
At this hour. Take this, please.
What is it?
A list of first folios in New York. The names of their owners and their telephone numbers.
Well, not a Damon, no what?
Nevertheless, I want you to phone each and every one of them.
But, boss, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
True. But you see, it is possible the one from whom that folio was stolen still hasn't realized his loss. Once he does, he'll call the police, which will only lead to confusion.
Whereas if we get hold of him tonight, it would lead to our getting a fee.
Why not?
As an air of sharp practice, Mr. Wolfe.
Yes. You and Minus must meet to discuss it sometime. In the meanwhile, Archie, the phone.
You know, boss, I thought I knew everything one angry man could call another, but these Shakespeare collectors, they know words I never even heard of.
The higher education, no doubt.
Oh, I wouldn't exactly call it higher.
Hello.
Boss?
Hello.
What's this one called?
James Blitherow.
Mr. Blitherow?
Yes. Yes, what do you want?
You own the first folio Shakespeare, do you not, sir?
If this is the Gallup poll...
What is it? Will you take a look and see if your folio is where it should be?
What do you mean?
I'm speaking for Nero Wolfe, the private detective. I think it might be worth your while to check.
It's kept under lock and key in my library, of course. But hold on, young man.
Righto, Blitherow. He's going to look. Boss, if he finds his book in there and starts yelling Shakespeare at me, will it be all right if I answer him in the choice language of 10th Avenue?
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Blitherow.
My folio. It's gone.
Jackpot, boss.
Ask him to call in the morning.
Mr. Blitherow, if you'll call here in the morning, Mr. Wolfe will be able to help you. Good night, sir.
If this is a joke...
Mr. Wolfe never jokes where large sums of money are concerned. At 11 tomorrow morning, Mr. Blitherow, good night, sir. I think he'll come.
Satisfactory. And now to bed, Archie. The morning promises to be a pleasant and remunerative one.
Except for Mr. Garvey, who won't know that it's morning.
Archie!
I heard it. Downstairs.
Quickly. A burglar.
Quickly it is. Watch out, wherever you are. The office. Who's in? Oh, you want to play? You.
Confound this getting up and walking in the middle of the night. I shall double my fee on this case. Archie! My office. Archie? If that young fool has got himself murdered, I'll...
What'll you do? Fire me?
Get up.
Sure, hold the floor down a minute, will you? Ooh. Why will people persist in hitting me on the head?
They want to avoid hurting you.
Oh, fine.
This room is a shambles.
Yeah, it's a great time to be worrying about the room. Hey, the burglar.
Has departed.
Where'd you put that folio?
In my desk.
Desk?
Yes.
Door's open. Mr. Wolfe, it's my duty to inform you that we are no longer the proud possessors of a first folio Shakespeare.
Fiddlesticks.
Yeah, also drat it and oh fudge, but that big brown book is gone, Mr. Wolfe.
So it is. But that false cover was no longer a cover for the folio, Archie. I removed the folio itself from between the covers and substituted...
You substituted what?
Your priceless collection of old Esquires.
Good coffee. But I still don't forgive you for practically giving away my Esquires. Boss, thinking back over the events of last night, I have come to a conclusion.
Yes?
The only one who could have swiped the folio was Susan.
Indeed.
Sure. But there's only one difficulty.
Which is?
Whoever it was that I wrestled with last night wasn't Susan.
How do you know?
Well, the subject's a delicate one, but it was not Susan.
I see. And why do you think it could only have been Miss Lee?
Well, because she was the only one who knew we had the stolen folios.
The door, Archie.
Wait a minute. Somebody else knew.
Precisely. And I rather think he's pressing our doorbell. Archie.
I will promptly sock him.
Nonsense. Let me do it. I assure you, it will hurt him more.
Huh? I guess you're right at that. Come in, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Wolfe?
Straight ahead. Or do you already know your way in?
I beg your pardon. You're Mr. Wolfe.
Be seated, Mr. Blitherow. Your first folio, Shakespeare, was stolen sometime yesterday. Do you want it back?
Of course, ma'am. And can you get it for me?
My fee will be $1,000. Archie will accept your check.
$1,000? Well, what guarantee do I have?
None. Unless you prefer to have me remember last night and prosecute you for burglary and assault.
This is ridiculous.
Oh, be still. Or perhaps you acquired those bruises on your face while shaving.
Well, I admit I didn't trust you. I did try to recover my own property. But, here's your check.
Thank you. And keep those Esquires in a safe place,
Now, Mr. Wolfe.
Mr. Blitherow, did you have the folio insured?
Certainly, for $100,000.
Huh?
You seem surprised. But every collector does that.
True. But does every collector thereupon plot to have his folio stolen so that he can receive his insurance while retaining ownership of the folio at the same time?
Mr. Wolfe, you're mad.
Sit down and be quiet. When you burgled this place last night, you departed hastily with a large brown book. On its cover, the title, The Improvement of the Understanding. Now, Mr. Blitherow, how did you know that the folio had been bound in a false cover, for one thing, and in that particular one for another? So sure that you didn't even bother to examine the inside.
I...
Because, Mr. Blitherow, you hired Mr. Garvey to steal it from you and keep it until you had collected your insurance.
Boss, that means Garvey may have tried to double-cross him, so he killed Garvey.
No, I didn't do that. I admit I did plan to defraud the insurance people, but I didn't commit murder.
Then what were you doing near the bookstore last night?
But I was just passing by. I thought I might stop in to speak to Garvey, make sure that everything was all right.
Well, why didn't you?
Well, the store was dark. Just a minute. How did you know I was near the store?
I didn't until you told me just now.
Boss, my congratulations. That was as neat a trap as I've ever seen. And it puts the lid on Mr. Blitherow.
Oh, indeed, Archie. Then perhaps you can explain why Miss Lee has just surreptitiously entered the room with that is a revolver in your hand, isn't it, Miss Lee?
The amazing Nero Wolfe, brought to you by the makers of Jergens Lotion, will continue in just a minute. But first, this is Jim Bannon with an idea for Christmas. For the girls at the office, the members of your club, for the toe of any woman's Christmas stocking, you can give a lovely gift for $1 plus tax if you give Jergens Lotion. It's a flattering gift because Jergens Lotion is the hand care the Hollywood stars prefer 7-1.
The Hollywood stars use Jergens Lotion 7-1?
Yes, with all the hand care preparations there are, the stars 7-1 choose Jergens Lotion. And this fine hand care is even finer now, thanks to wartime research.
What do you mean Jergens Lotion is finer now?
Know what women said after testing this post-war Jergens? They said it makes their hands feel even softer and smoother and protects even longer.
Oh, I'd like a bottle of that post-war Jergens Lotion myself.
It's in the stores now, very same bottle, still 10 cents to $1 plus tax. And for Christmas, the $1 bottle has a gay Christmas wrapping. From teenage to grandmothers, to please your women friends, give them Jergens Lotion for Christmas. And now now back to the Jergens Lotion program, The Amazing Nero Wolfe, starring Francis X. Bushman and Elliott Lewis.
Yes, this is a revolver in my hand, Mr. Wolfe, and I can use it.
The way you used it on Garvey last night?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Then why are you here?
For that folio. I want it. And Goodwin, stop inching toward me.
Why, you used to call me Archie.
They'll be calling you the late Mr. Goodwin if you don't stop.
Archie, stay where you are. Miss Lee means business.
I'm glad you understand that.
Just as I understand a great many other things. For example, the fact that you didn't sell the book to Minus by mistake. Garvey would have kept it well hidden. Therefore, you stole the book and used Minus to get it out of the store at a time when you could prove to Garvey you hadn't left the premises.
That may be true. I want the book. Where is it?
Thus, having convicted you of theft, convicting you of murder should be fairly simple.
Murder? You can't prove anything.
I admit you're right there. I can't. Not unless someone saw you at the store at the time of the murder.
But that's impossible.
Be quiet. Mr. Blithero has something to say.
Mr. Wolfe, I can furnish you with that proof. I didn't want to say anything before, but when I passed the store last night, I saw her there.
Indeed. Archie, I want you to remember what Mr. Blithero has just said. Miss Lee, you'd better remember as well.
You're crazy. He's lying.
He's furnished me the evidence I shall need
You'll never use it against me.
Of course not. The evidence he furnished me shall serve to convict him.
What, Blithero? What did you say?
Blithero, you're not only a murderer, but a fool. You couldn't have seen Miss Lee at the store during the critical period last night, because at that time, Miss Lee was energetically chasing and firing at the cab containing Mr. Goodwin and Minus. I needed one additional iota of evidence against you to add to the evidence I already had of fraud. And in your eagerness to frame Miss Lee, you furnished it. Thank you. Oh, dear.
Yes. I've got the gun, too. Miss Lee, drop yours. Quickly. Yeah, that's good. And now to take care of you. Of all of you.
Hey, but I got some more books. All for a quarter.
Pick out, Chief.
I'll take the gun. Let go. Let go.
Minus, pick out your heaviest book and hit Mr. Blithero on the head with it, will you?
Why, sure. There. How's that?
Satisfactory, Minus. Archie, do you have his gun?
Uh-huh.
Then point it at Miss Lee. I think she's trying to reach her own.
Now, Susan, behave or Archie goes bang-bang.
Archie, stop this nauseating whimsicality and phone the police. We have a crook and a murderer to turn over to them. Minus.
Huh?
Close your mouth. It makes you look even less intelligent. If that's possible.
I was thinking.
Good heavens, no.
Yeah. From my experience in this here case, I come to the conclusion that books is real useful.
Splendid. Does that mean you're going to learn how to read?
Nah. But if I ever get tired of driving a cab, maybe I, too, write a book.
Oh, that's wonderful, Minus. What's it going to be about?
Well, Archie, how about my own life story, huh? You know, a guy sees a lot of things in the rearview mirror of a taxi.
A most commendable project, Minus. And I believe I can suggest a title for your autobiography.
Huh?
From the works of the bard himself.
You can, Mr. Wolfe? What is it?
From Macbeth, Act 5, Scene 3. A tale told by an idiot.
Tonight's program concludes the current series of The Amazing Nero Wolfe, starring Francis X. Bushman as Nero Wolfe and Elliott Lewis as Archie. Brought to you by the makers of Jergens Lotion. The characters of Nero Wolfe and Archie Goodwin were created by Rex Stout. Tonight's play was written by Louis Biddies and produced and directed by Travis Wells. This is Jim Bannon saying goodnight for Jergens Lotion, the lotion for soft, smooth, romantic hands. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. A very good mystery. There were so many twists in here. This was just very well written. And I was impressed with the type of lines that were given Wolfe And Bushman's delivery was just spot on. Again, this is one of those shows where it's like, oh, there's only one episode of this particular series. I really wish there were more. And hopefully some of those will emerge from the vault of a collector, and we'll be able to share those with you. Next week, of course, we move into the most common in circulation Nero Wolfe series, The New Adventures of Nero Wolfe with Sidney Greenstreet. Got a comment on Facebook from Tim who writes, I decided to start from the beginning of Adam's podcast. I only recently discovered them, so I have only made it to about episode 20. They make great listening on the way to and from work. Thanks, Adam. And thank you, Tim, for the kind comment when you catch up with us, which I guess will be in about 13 or 14 weeks. But that'll do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow with Let George Do It. By the way, it'll probably be the last in a series of runs where we have 3 mutual shows right in a row. Amazing Nero Wolfe, Let George Do It, and Sherlock Holmes were all originated over the Mutual Network, though at different times. And also, one final note before I really go, did want to let folks know that the episode from a couple weeks ago, some folks Let George Do It. Vultures on the Wing, episode 273. Some folks got episode 263 instead because of an issue with constructing the show. You can go to iTunes and download that. But that'll really do it for now. Well, before we get into today's episode of Let George Do It, I do want to let you know about Netflix. If you haven't tried it, Netflix is great. It gives you access to 90,000 DVD titles, including the classics as well as the latest hits. You get to choose what you watch, when you watch it, as well as enjoy their ever-expanding instant watch selection. Now, you can try Netflix out for free. Go to netflix.greatdetectives.net. Start your free trial. But let's get into today's episode of Let George Do It, Stranger Than Fiction.
Standard of California, on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and standard stations throughout the West, invite you to Let George Do It. Stranger Than Fiction, another adventure of George Valentine.
Personal notice, danger's my stock and trade. If life's twisting you like a tornado and you want out, you got a job for me, George Valentine. Write full details.
Dear Mr. Valentine, writing this letter is a hideous necessity, but a rival has come into my life, or I should say, this woman has come back into my life, and in such a way as to cause me the kind of humiliation I will not tolerate. You may have read my husband's best-selling novel, The Awakening. Everyone else seemed to have. Well, I must know whether this particular woman is or is not the heroine of this tale of passion.
This should be an easy enough assignment for you. Please call me at my home so we can arrange an immediate appointment at your office. Sincerely, Victoria Beasley.
Now, Brooksy, that's what I call a world-shaking problem.
Well, you wouldn't make so light of it, my lad, if you'd read Samuel Beasley's book. It was banned in Boston.
Oh.
One critic called it an emotional hotfoot, 700 pages long.
Well, I must get to this cultural milestone as soon as I finish the Rover Boys in the Indian country. Right now, I'm going to call Mrs. Beasley. Okay, Mrs. Beasley, I'll just sit here and wait until you stop prancing up and down.
Mr. Valentine, you don't seem to appreciate the position my husband's placed me in with this book.
Here, Mrs. Beasley, have a chair.
Nobody's made you look ridiculous. Friends don't snicker and whisper behind their hands every time you pass.
Look, please.
So you can sit there with that superior smirk on your face.
Well, if I'm smirking, it's because I'm trying not to laugh out loud.
I didn't come here to...
With someone like you, Mrs. B, I've got to say what I mean to make a dent. Oh, Brooksy, you read the society columns.
Oh, sure. A girl's got to be improving her savoir-faire, you know.
All right. Now, how is Victoria Beasley usually described, this time without the routine?
Really now, Mr. Valentine.
Well, without the routine. Victoria Beasley, glacial beauty, wondrous wit, soul of poise, evoked an almost audible gasp of admiration when she arrived at the Duchess's party, late as usual.
I'm leaving.
Now, wait a minute. Won't you admit this does call for a laugh? A woman with all those assets getting green-eyed over a fictional gal her husband dreamt up in a novel?
Sam is a broker, not a writer.
Oh, say that about Samuel Beasley on a quiz program, and the man will come up with, too bad, better luck next time.
I cured him of all his literary pretensions 10 years ago when he married me. Lord knows where he found time to write this book. He did it out of sheer malice.
You mean you thought you had a colorless milquetoast character for a spouse, and now he's the pop of a bestseller, stealing all the limelight from you?
No. That's not it at all.
Then what is it?
The Diana in Sam's book actually exists. Everything that happened between her and the hero actually happened. Almost every critic said it has the ring of truth.
Oh, well, that doesn't mean that...
The whole situation. A community like our own, Deer Lake Park. The description of Diana. A cold, distant wife who didn't know what was going on.
The glacial beauty, eh? You sound as though you knew the heroine.
I think I do. And that's where I need your help, Mr. Valentine.
Oh, look, haven't I tried to
So
explain
many
that...
things are so very clear now. For instance, every Thursday for the last year, Sam's received a telephone call at 5:30. He's always made a point of answering it himself.
Well, does it have to be another woman? It could have been his bookie. They're very punctual, too.
Once I reached the phone before he did. The party hung up. I'm sure it was a woman. The woman.
You recognize the perfume, no doubt.
Let me finish. Every Thursday night he's made an excuse to go into town and never once mentioned what he did.
Well, of course, you keep Sam informed of all your movements.
That's aside from the point. Your commentary doesn't interest me. I just want you to find out if Diana in Sam's book is or isn't Peggy Wilkinson.
And who's that lady?
Her family has the estate next to ours at Deer Lake Park. She's always loved Sam. Probably would have married him if I hadn't come along.
You mean except for the last year, Peggy's been content to forget, if not forgive?
Peggy's the kind of girl who's willing to wait things out. She makes a career of being naive, wholesome, and athletic.
And you think she's the Diana in The Awakening?
You may have seen Miss Wilkinson in the Sunday supplements. She's always carrying not one, but 6 tennis rackets.
Say, tell me, Mrs. Beasley, what's it going to do for your pride to find out if all this is true? Or is it a little feminine mayhem you have in mind?
What I have in mind is none of your business. Question is, are you interested in a flat fee?
Oh, excuse me, will you? Valentine. Oh, yeah, Riley. Oh, what's on your mind, Lieutenant? What? Hey, look, start from the beginning, will you? And this time stop for the red lights. Huh? Oh, now, wait, I can't answer that. Looks like I'm going to take the case, so I might be violating the confidence of my client. Okay, stop yelling, will you? We'll be right out there. Mrs. Beasley?
Yes?
Do you know a man named Michael Waldron?
I do.
And you left my telephone number in case he wanted to get in touch with you?
That's right. We were supposed to have lunch in town together today. How do you know? Who was that on the phone?
Lieutenant Riley. Homicide.
What's the tie-up, George?
Well, what did he say?
Enough to take this out of the class of a family brawl. Mrs. Beasley, somebody tried to kill your husband.
Well, while we're waiting for Miss Brooks to get here with Miss Wilkinson, what about some drinks? Oh, Sally. Yes, ma'am. Right away.
Just a minute here.
Yes, Lieutenant?
Mrs. Beasley, suppose we forget about the social graces until we get rid of the business at hand, huh?
The business being to prove I took a pot shot at Beasley here.
Take it easy, Walden. Hey, Lieutenant, Mr. Beasley's been strangely quiet. Would you mind him telling us what happened?
Oh, that's going to be just dandy. He'd like nothing better than to pin it on me.
Michael, please.
Let's face it, Vicky, he resented every moment we've been together.
Why should I, Waldron? You're 5 years younger than my wife. Our friends applaud her choice for a companion when I'm occupied. You're handsome, very charming.
Okay. You guys can knife each other some other time.
Are you sure nobody wants anything?
What, are you still here? I told you that... No, Sally, nobody wants anything.
I was talking to Mr. Beasley.
You can go now, Sally.
Just as you say, Mr. Beasley.
Mr. Valentine, a moment ago you asked me for my version of what happened here in my study.
Yeah, it seems to have been lost in the shuffle.
I can be very brief about it. I was sitting there at my desk, typing, doing some work on a new story. Suddenly there was a shot through those French doors. I didn't see anybody, and I assure you I didn't stop to investigate.
I get it.
I made a beeline for the drawing room. And strangely enough, a minute later, in walked Waldron.
Here we go.
Let me ask you something, Beasley.
I'll ask the questions if you don't mind, Valentine, and when I'm through, I've got something to ask you. Why you're mixed up in this at all, Mrs. Beasley.
I don't think I can be of much help, Lieutenant. When I left for Mr. Valentine's office, Sam was here in the study. I decided I wouldn't bother him.
Didn't you even tiptoe up and peek in to say goodbye?
I told you. He was working. I could hear him at the typewriter.
As far as I'm concerned, I was merely dropping by to pick Vicky up for lunch. I didn't even hear a shot.
Of course, it might have been one of my readers expressing a critical opinion.
Please, Mr. Beasley, don't try to be funny. You know, you people rank pretty high socially in our fair city. That's why I'm here. Ordinarily, you'd have to be a corpse before I arrive.
Just 1 minute, Mrs. Beasley. I'll take that.
What do you mean?
Whatever it is you're trying to slip into your pocketbook, I'd like to see it.
You haven't anything to hide, have you, Mrs. Beasley?
Why, no. This is just a
gold cigarette lighter.
Yes. I must have dropped it over there by the doors.
Very interesting. Initials M.W.
Lieutenant, you needn't look at me like that. It's not mine.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that, M.W. And you weren't supposed to have been here in the study.
That's all right, Vicky. They can think whatever they want, but they'll never prove anything.
I'm sure that's a world of consolation to my wife. Isn't it, my dear?
Well, suppose we go back downtown together, Waldron. While we check on this lighter, you and I have a few things to talk about.
Why not?
Oh, Lieutenant.
Yeah?
I admit this lighter might point very definitely to Waldron, but it doesn't stop there.
All right. Where does it stop?
I'll be able to tell you better when Brooksy gets here. Now, Miss Wilkinson, as I told you, there's no reason to be nervous. The lieutenant has to ask these questions.
But I don't understand. I knew nothing of what happened to Sam until Miss Brooks told me.
Oh, but I didn't tell you, Miss Wilkinson. I made it a point not to.
I couldn't help guessing something was wrong.
Lieutenant, must we drag Peggy into this? You've got Waldron in the other room to take down to headquarters. Why this inquisition?
Valentine and your wife dragged this young woman into this mess, not me.
Surely, Sam, you can't object to us doing everything we can to find out who tried to kill you.
Your concern for me is very touching, Victoria.
Mr. Beasley, whether you know it or not, your wife has a theory that the heroine of your book is modeled after Miss Wilkins.
Mr. Valentine, that was supposed to be a matter of confidence between us.
Attempted murder changes all that.
Tori, you really believe that? Me, the Diana in The Awakening, that irresistible creature who unleashed such raging passion in a man?
Sam is so carried away, he couldn't help dropping some unmistakable clues. How long has this been going on? Just the last year? Or the whole time we've been married?
Now, Victoria.
How many people have known it all along, laughing at me?
Oh, this is ridiculous. Peggy is the last person anybody would picture as the femme fatale. She's the outdoor type. Much too wholesome for that sort of thing. Just to look at her, anybody can tell that.
Why stop there, Sam? You with your marvelous knack with words. Why don't you say I'm just about as glamorous as a dish of cottage cheese? I use Lifebuoy in my tub instead of perfume bath salts. The direct opposite of the striking and glamorous Victoria.
Just where were you all morning, Miss Wilkinson?
I have no airtight alibi, if that's what you mean. I was out horseback riding, all by myself.
Look, let's stop sparring, huh? Now, look, Valentine, you said you were going to pull some kind of rabbit out of the hat. Well, come on, let's have it.
Okay. Do you happen to own a cigarette lighter, Margaret?
Why, yes. I didn't know there was any law against that.
Could this be it? The initials M.W. could stand for Margaret Wilkinson, as well as Michael Walton. Now, while you were out horseback riding, you might have taken a slight detour. And you might have wanted to kill Beasley because he wouldn't get a divorce and marry you.
Well, Miss Wilkinson?
Very well. Why shouldn't I admit it? It's all true about this morning. And the book.
Well, you know what you're saying, Peggy.
Yes, and I don't care. Oh, this will really cause a sensation. The wholesome, colorless Peggy Wilkinson turns out to be the fabulous and much-discussed Diana. Oh, and I'll love it.
You heard it, all of you. This twee little frump has been making a fool of me. Me.
Well, Miss Wilkinson, I guess we'd better get into town.
I'm afraid not, Lieutenant Riley.
Huh?
Because I'm not going to press charges.
What?
George, did you hear the man?
Yeah.
I came here to make an arrest, and that's what I'm going to do.
I refuse to prosecute. As far as I'm concerned, Peggy was out hunting squirrels, and her marksmanship was incredibly bad.
I think you're right, Sam.
But I don't. I want the world to know that you couldn't hold a man, Victoria. And of all things, you lost him to me.
I think that washes everything up, Lieutenant. Thank you very much for your trouble.
If you were anybody else, Beasley, I'd better get out of here before I lose my...
Peggy, I'd better take you home.
Yes, sir.
Victoria, you'd better go and reassure Walden that he's a free man.
I'll do that, Sam. I'll be right back, Mr. Valentine.
Yeah.
Well, where does that leave us, George? I don't see any point in hanging around now.
Oh, a very important point, Brooksy. A particularly fat and juicy bill.
Oh, yeah.
Mrs. Beasley did find out what she wanted to know. So, sit down at the great author's typewriter and make it out.
Okay. What amount shall I make it, George?
Oh, I beg your pardon. I was looking for Mrs. Beasley. This is my day off. I was just leaving.
Well, so long, son.
I was in the next room before. I couldn't help overhearing Mrs. Beasley say Mr. Beasley was using the typewriter when she left this morning.
So?
The reason the typewriter man was here was to bring this new machine. Goodbye, Mr. Valentine. George.
Yeah, Brooksy. This is a noiseless machine.
Then she couldn't have heard it. With the doors of the study closed.
Now, why did she lie?
You mean Victoria took a shot at her husband and then came to us? Oh, but why would Peggy...
I don't know, Angel, I don't know. But unless I have the proud Victoria sized up all wrong, the lady is still out to do murder.
We'll return to tonight's adventure, George Valentine, in just a moment. You like your car. Probably everybody in your family and most of your friends like it. But there's someone who doesn't like your car. And his name is Old Man Rust. He's most destructive when your car is standing idle for long hours. He sneaks in with condensed moisture and starts nibbling at internal engine parts the moment you cut the ignition. But if you've got RPM motor oil in your car, don't you worry. One of the compounds in RPM is an adhering agent. This keeps a smooth coating of the oil on every inch of metal at all times. So when you cut the engine, RPM doesn't drain off vertical parts. It stays on the job and prevents rust from ever getting started. Other compounds in RPM, motor oil, prevent gummy carbon and lacquer formations, put a stop to corrosion and oxidation. It adds up to complete protection, another reason why RPM is first choice in the West. Ask for RPM at standard stations and independent Chevron gas stations, where they say and mean, we take better care of your car. And now back to tonight's adventure of George Valentine. A marble-cold society beauty, Victoria Beasley, by name, who'd rather die than be humiliated, hires you to prove that the heroine in her broker husband's sensational first book is a former sweetheart of his, Peggy Wilkinson. You don't want any part of a divorce-bound shuffle like this, but then an attempt is made on Sam Beasley's life. Said Peggy takes the blame, and the wife trips herself up with a stupid, needless contradiction, which seems to give the lie to Peggy's confession. All of which sends you, George Valentine, into frantic action to prevent another try at murder.
George, what are you going to do?
Find Victoria. Okay, Walden, where is she?
That's what I'd like to know, Valentine. What did you say to Victoria? She just brushed past me, told me to stay here until she gets something cleared up once and for all.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
Well, wasn't Mrs. Beasley more specific? Where was she going? What was she going to do?
That's all she said. But you've got to stop hounding her, Valentine.
Me? Hounding her?
We're a little mixed up, Mr. Walden. Victoria came to us.
Well, there's no time to go into detail.
Why don't you admit it? Her husband hired you to spy on us. You can't do that to the kind of person Victoria is. She's easily upset, and I'm not going to let you.
Now, look, Buster, I got places to go in a hurry.
You're not going anywhere. You're going to leave Victoria alone.
You're a big, well-built lad, Waldron, but don't try to maul me.
You're staying right here, even if I have to...
Sorry, but you forced me into this corner. I told you I got places to go.
Don't keep looking around like that for help, Peggy. I waited till Sam left so I could be alone with you. I'm here to kill you in your own house.
Victoria, put that gun away. You don't know what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I do. In the presence of others, you admitted that you came between me and my husband. It was you who were phoning every Thursday at 5:30. The other details are all there for the whole world to read. In Sam's book.
No, Victoria, no.
No jury will convict me for trying to protect the sanctity of the American home.
Now, listen to me, Victoria.
Being a laughingstock, I'll be a heroine, a noble figure. That's something I never could stand for, being laughed at. I'm willing to do anything to put an end to that.
You've got to believe me. I lied to that lieutenant. I didn't try to kill Sam, and I'm not the Diana in his book.
Do you expect me to believe that?
Well, I said it only because I'm human. I'm tired of being the dowdy thing that I am. Can't you understand what it would mean if people thought that I had all the glamour that you have, and more? I haven't been waiting around for 10 years to get Sam.
Sorry, Peggy. I'm all through talking.
I'm sorry about this.
How did you...
She was going to kill me.
It's all right now, Peggy.
Your wrist will hurt for a couple of days, Mrs. Beasley, but you're lucky to get away this easy.
Shall I get on my knees and thank you most humbly?
No, and you better not bother picking up that gun either. I'll just take that. Where did you get it, anyway?
It's Sam's. I took it from the drawer in his shipper robe.
I see. Okay, come on, Mrs. Beasley. You too, Miss Wilkinson.
Where are we going?
Right back where we started. Who knows? If I'm lucky, I may come up with another rabbit out of the hat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like hogging the floor, but the time has come when you're going to have to do the listening.
Well, get it over with, Mr. Valentine. I'm sick of this whole thing.
I'm sure the ladies, too, are anxious to hear what you have to say.
Well, you should be more than anxious, Mrs. Beasley. You should be shaking with fear over what you might have done today.
You mean committing murder? I had every intention to.
Victoria, you can't go on feeling that way about me. I told you you're all wrong.
Stop sniveling, Peggy. You're safe. I doubt if I could work myself up to the same fever pitch again.
Oh, now you're just being an old softy, Mrs. Beasley.
What I meant to say is that if Miss Wilkinson is right, you would have killed the wrong woman and paid for it with your life.
I'm just as sure as ever that she's the Diana Sam wrote about.
And about that attempt on your life, Mr. Beasley.
Oh, yes, we mustn't forget that.
If Miss Wilkinson has recanted her confession and Waldron here is staunch in his denials.
I certainly am.
That leaves only you, Mrs. Beasley.
Oh, you've placed much too much importance on my hearing Sam's typewriter. I only said that to make my story sound more convincing. I didn't want to be implicated in something I had nothing to do with.
Oh, it seems we're right back where we started from, with a full-blown mystery on our hands. Maybe it would be best just to forget.
I don't know about that. Stay where you are, Victoria. No, I'll answer that, Mr. Beasley.
Oh, yes, but
5:30. Thursday. Same call, same time. Every week.
Yeah. The other woman. Hello?
Is that you, Sam?
No. No, but I've got a question for you, lady.
Oh,
dear Lord, what I almost did.
Yes, Mrs. Beasley. There is a real life Diana, and that was she on the phone. Okay, who is she, Beasley?
if a writer learns nothing else, he learns the value of confounding and bewildering the reader. That's the way I choose to leave it now.
Oh, Peggy, I couldn't help believing what I did. And if Mr. Valentine hadn't stopped me, I would...
Yes, George.
Get on the phone and tell Riley to get back here.
Oh, he's going to just love that.
Well, it's only right that he should be in on the payoff.
Same rabbit in the same house?
No. You've heard about how those long-eared critters increase and multiply. Well, at this point, there's a whole slew of the little beasties.
Huh?
In other words, Angel, now we've got all the answers.
All right, Valentine. I get the picture of what happened between Mrs. Beasley and Miss Wilkinson.
But I told you, Lieutenant, Victoria thought I was the Diana in the awakening. Certainly under the circumstances, I'm not going to do anything about it.
Oh, most certainly. There have been 2 murder attempts, and we're supposed to just laugh it off, huh?
Lieutenant, do I still have to hang around here?
As far as I'm concerned, you can drop...
Surely, Waldron, you don't want to miss the exciting explanation Valentine's promised us.
Yes, why don't you say something, Mr. Valentine? What have you got on your mind?
I don't think you can stall much longer, darling.
Okay, I admit I have been stalling. But for a very good reason. Still, if the time has come. Beasley? You staged this whole business. Nobody tried to kill you.
What?
You fired that shot through the French doors.
You're going to have trouble proving an obvious absurdity like that.
Okay, if someone really wanted to kill you, some person in this room who knew you, he would have walked right up to you and let you have it, not resort to any hit-or-miss tactics.
That makes sense, Valentine. Go on.
The gun your wife wanted to use on Miss Wilkinson, your gun, has one bullet missing from it. And that's the bullet embedded in the wall over your desk.
Are you sure of that?
Quite sure, Lieutenant.
Mr. Beasley was so convinced that suspicion would never fall on him, he was, well, let's say, careless enough to put the gun back in his room where his wife found it.
Why would Sam do such a thing?
I'll tell you why. He'd make the headlines, more publicity for that book of his.
Yes, dear, that thought did occur to me.
The sensation the awakening caused was beginning to die down. Something like this would have started people talking all over again. Make me seem even more ridiculous.
It was fit payment for the 10 years you lorded it over me, making me a laughingstock among our friends.
And I was to be the patsy in the deal. I've been waiting for this, Beasley, and now it's a foot, Buster.
And the lighter, Sam? Were you going to purposely implicate me?
No, Peggy. I never thought of you as Margaret when I planted that lighter with the initials M.W. I wanted it to point to Waldron, but I never intended to press charges.
Oh, there must be something in the books that applies to a case like this. There's got to be. And I'm going to find it. Look, Beasley, I don't care how big a man you are.
Lieutenant, you haven't heard the whole story.
I don't think I can take any more.
Oh, you don't know about rabbits, Lieutenant, and how they increase and multiply.
Miss Brooks, there's an awful lot of things I don't know, but I'm going to find out right now.
Oh, Mrs. Beasley, I didn't know you had company. What, Sally? I just wanted to tell you I was back in case you needed me.
But, Sally, this is your night off.
I'm sure she'll give you a detailed report some other time, but now...
Lieutenant Riley, you should be ashamed of yourself.
What's that?
That's no way to talk about the almost legendary Diana.
You know what you're talking about.
You must be out of your mind.
I was trying to stall till Sally got here.
But how did he find out, Mr. Beasley?
I'm sure he's coming to that right now, Sally.
You mean my own maid in my own house?
Yes, Mrs. Beasley. Those mysterious phone calls every Thursday. Thursday. The traditional maid's day off. Sam couldn't keep his appointment tonight.
I can't help myself, Victoria, but it is funny.
But not to me, Michael. You can get out and stay out.
Victoria, I'm truly very sorry.
Of course. You began tying things up, George, when Sally made those pointed remarks about the new typewriter.
Frankly, I'm glad it's all out in the open.
Yeah, me too.
Victoria, although this must necessarily add to your humiliation, after our divorce, Sally and I are going to be married.
Oh, but that's impossible.
What?
What do you mean impossible, Sally?
Well, I'm already married. But Joe's been in San Quentin for the last 2 years.
Oh, this is wonderful.
And this time, Michael, I can laugh with you.
Oh, Sam, I'm very sorry. You look so hurt.
Sally, you might have told me instead of making such a fool of me.
But, Mr. Beasley, we just went to the movies and dinner every Thursday night.
Oh, brother.
And after all, it isn't every girl who has such a beautiful book written about her.
Oh, I don't know, Riley. I think the whole thing's pretty understandable.
Oh, don't you even talk to me about the Beasleys.
The suppressed middle-aged man turns an innocent little affair into a literary heat wave. The book Victoria kept him from writing for 10 years.
Yeah. This seems to be the night for laughing jags. What goes with you, pal?
Well, Sam's book should have an aftermath. The awakening is complete.
How come?
Well, I'm betting Victoria is going to feel sorry for her spouse now. And after 10 years, they're really going to get together.
Yeah. Who cares?
Well, that's the beautiful part about marriage, Riley. It really can take a beating and still survive.
Oh, you're so right, darling. More people ought to try it. Or am I being too subtle again?
Oh. Well, what I really meant, Angel, was that, well, you see...
Go on. Squirm, pal, squirm. For the first time today, I've found something to laugh at.
If you want to be off to a good start, a fast start, every time you use your car, just make sure it's Chevron Supreme gasoline you've got in the tank. This premium quality gasoline turns the engine over the moment you press the starter. Gives your car a faster warm-up, too. More pep in traffic. A new ping-free power that lifts your car over the hills. Try Chevron Supreme and you'll agree it gets the best out of your car. Another thing, it's climate-tailored. In each different temperature and altitude zone of the West, count on Chevron Supreme for your car's best performance the year round. For today's high-compression engines, you just can't buy a better gasoline. So why not try it tomorrow? Get Chevron Supreme at standard stations and at independent Chevron gas stations where they say and mean we take better care of your car. Next week, as George Valentine is poking through the tall grass in a vacant lot, we'll hear him saying to Brooksy,
Looks like we walked into something, Brooksy.
What? That looks like part of a man's shirt.
The collar of a man's shirt, with blood on it.
Golly. Stephen must have torn the collar off so he could cover the wound.
And the shirt came from Jonathan's. That's the shop where they look down their noses if your bill runs under $200.
Then we better work faster.
Yeah, because young Steve's life is worth under 2 cents.
Tonight's adventure of George Valentine has been brought to you by Standard of California on behalf of independent Chevron gas stations and Standard stations throughout the West. Robert Bailey is starred as George with Frances Robinson as Claire. Wally Mayer appears as Lieutenant Riley. Let George Do It is written by David Victor and Herbert Little, Jr. and directed by Don Clark. Also heard in the cast were Lee Patrick as Victoria, Frank Martin as Sam, Peter Leeds as Waldron, Mary Schiff as Peggy, and Bernice Barrett as Sally. The music is composed and presented by Eddie Dunstetter. Your announcer, John Heaston. Listen again next week, same time, same station, to Let George Do It. This is the Mutual Don Lee Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. That was an unusually restrained ending. No arrest, no corpses by the end of the story. We do have one comment here before the end from Linda, who says, "Thanks for the hard work, Adam. I totally enjoy the stories. Your meticulous research makes each listening experience feel like sitting with a good friend." Well, thanks so much, Linda. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Before we get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes, I do want to let you know about our entertainment book. The entertainment book is a great book of bargains for local merchants, wherever you happen to be, in the U.S. or Canada. There's an entertainment book available for most cities you can think of. Find out what's available in your area, and remember the entertainment books that make a great Christmas present. Go to entertainment.greatdetectives.net. All right, well, we're going to get into today's episode of Sherlock Holmes. This one is The Man with the Twisted Lip.
Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend at Master Detective Sherlock Holmes. Before he starts, I can tell you something it's really worth knowing. Simply this. The best beginning a good meal ever had is a glass of Petri California Sherry. Petri Sherry is the perfect before-dinner wine. While you're waiting for dinner to be put on the table, pour yourself a glass of that clear, amber-colored Petri Sherry. Now just sit back and sip it slowly. Take your time so you can thoroughly enjoy every single drop of that wonderful Petri flavor. And what a flavor that sherry has. It comes right from the sun-ripened heart of wonderful California grapes. You may be a real wine expert and know all about sherry wine, but believe me, until you've tried a Petri sherry, you're really missing something. Serve Petri sherry alone or serve it with canapes or appetizers. And by all means, serve it proudly. You can because the letters P-E-T-R-I spell the proudest name in the history of American wines, Petri. And now let's visit our good friend and host, Dr. Watson. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell. Draw up your usual chair and make yourself at home. How about a glass of sherry?
That'd be very nice. All ready for tonight's story, Doctor?
Yes, my boy. Here's your sherry.
Thank you, sir.
My story begins on a June night in 1889. My wife and I had spent a quiet evening at home, I remember. It was just about the hour that a man gives his first yawn and glances at the clock, when the tranquility of the scene was broken by the discordant jangling of our front doorbell.
An emergency call for you, I suppose, Doctor.
Not exactly, Mr. Bartell. It turned out to be a certain Mrs. Isa Whitney, an old friend of my wife's who'd come to us in trouble. Her husband, she told us, had been missing for 48 hours, and, knowing him to be the victim of the shocking habit of taking opium, she was convinced that he was lying drugged and stupefied in some foul den amid the London waterfronts.
And I suppose you went out to try to find him?
Yes, Mr. Bartell, I did. She told me that her husband had mentioned frequenting a place called the Bar of Gold in Upper Swandam Lane, so naturally that's where I began my search. I quickly located it, and after ordering my cab to wait, I entered the place. A strange sight met my eyes. Through the smoke-ridden gloom, I could catch a glimpse of bodies lying in strange, fantastic poses as they smoked the pipes of death. Most of the unhappy creatures lay silently, but some muttered to themselves and others talked together in strange, low, monotonous voices, their conversation coming in gushes and then trailing off into silence, each mumbling his own thoughts and paying little attention or heed to the words of his neighbor. As I entered, an attendant hurried up to me with an opium pipe and a supply of the drug and beckoned me to an empty berth.
Master may lie here.
I haven't come to stay here, my good man. I'm looking for a friend, Mr. Isa Whitney.
No one by that name here, master.
Well, I'm going to search this place just the same.
Please not to make trouble, master.
Watson. Is that you, Watson?
Whitney, thank heavens I've found you, man.
What time is it?
It's nearly 11.
Of what day?
What day? Friday, June the 19th.
Oh, good Lord, I thought it was Wednesday. It is Wednesday. You're trying to confuse me.
I tell you it's Friday. Your wife has been waiting 2 days for you.
You're mixed up in your dates, Watson. I've only been here a few hours. 3 pipes, 4 pipes. I forget how many. I'll go home with you.
Here, I'll give you a hand. That's it. I have a cab waiting.
I must owe some money. Will you settle up for me, Watson?
Yes, of course. Here, wait here for me. Stop pulling at my sleeve, my good fellow. Who are you and what do you want?
A word in your ear, please, sir.
Oh, very well. What is it?
Get rid of your friend and join me outside.
Holmes, what on earth are you doing here in this den?
Your cab waiting?
Yes?
Then please use it to send your befuddled friend home in. And if you feel up to it, I should also recommend that you send a note to the cabman telling your wife that you have thrown in your lot with me. I'd be exceedingly glad to have a little talk with you.
Yes, of course, Holmes.
Splendid. Then conclude your business here, old chap. I'll meet you outside in about 10 minutes.
Where on earth is he? It's nearly... Is that you, Holmes?
Yes, Watson, it's me.
Your disguise is wonderful. I'd never recognized you if you hadn't spoke to me just now.
Disposed of your friend?
Yes, good.
Splendid. Let's start walking. I've a horse and trap waiting for me in the next street.
Oh, what on earth were you doing in the Bar of Gold, Holmes?
Trying to get news of a missing man. I'm in the midst of a very remarkable inquiry, and I'd hoped to get a clue from the incoherent ramblings of those poor devils back there. There's the horse and trap. Under the street lamp on the corner. You'll come with me, Watson?
Yes, of course, if I can be of any use.
A trusty comrade is always of use. My room at the Cedars has 2 beds in it.
The Cedars?
Yes, that's Mr. Neville St. Clair's house and our present destination. It's near Lee in Kent, about 7 miles from here. I'm using it as a headquarters while I conduct my inquiries.
Evening, Mr. Holmes. Everything all right?
Yes, thank you, John. Get in, Watson.
Right, John.
I shan't need you any more tonight, John. Here's half a crown for you. Look out for me tomorrow about 11.
Right you are, Mr. Holmes. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night, John. Go on, get up.
Well, Holmes, if we have a 7-mile drive ahead of us, perhaps you'll tell me about the case that you're working on.
With pleasure, old chap. But first, take the reins for a few minutes, will you? I want to remove my makeup and take off my wig and be comfortable. After that, I'll tell you why we are headed for the Kentish countryside at this hour of the night. Watson, you have a grand gift of silence. It makes you invaluable as a companion. We've driven 4 miles and you haven't uttered a word.
It wasn't easy, Holmes. I've been dying to question you, but I could see that you were preoccupied.
Then I shall reward you with a clear and concise statement of my problem. Mr. Neville St. Clair, aged 37, the father of 2 children and an affectionate husband, is missing. He left his house, the Cedars, near Lee, our present destination, last Monday.
4 days ago, eh?
Yes. Now, why should an affectionate husband and a happy father disappear?
Any money trouble?
No, I think not. His entire debts, at the moment, amount to £88, while he has £220 standing to his credit at the Capital and Counties Bank.
Who was the last person to see him on Monday?
His wife. But let me tell you the story. He left his house for London rather earlier than usual.
He was a businessman, then?
Yes, he has an interest in several companies in London, but his wife doesn't know exactly what he does. But to continue, he left for London saying that he would bring his little boy home a box of toy bricks. Now, by the merest chance, his wife received a telegram shortly after his departure saying that a parcel of considerable value was waiting for her at the offices of the Aberdeen Shipping Company.
Aberdeen Shipping? Why, their offices are in Fresno Street. I drove by them tonight.
Exactly, and Fresno Street branches out of Upper Swandam Lane, where the Bar of Gold is situated.
Ah, now I'm beginning to understand. Go on, Holmes, go on.
Mrs. St. Clair took a train for London, and at exactly 4:35 on Monday last, found herself walking past the Bar of Gold. Suddenly, she heard a cry, and looking up was horrified to see her husband beckoning to her from a second-story window.
Great Scott, was he a prisoner, or was he there of his own free will, do you suppose?
Undoubtedly, he was a prisoner. The window was open, and she distinctly saw his face, which she described as being terribly agitated.
Really?
He waved his hand to her frantically and then vanished from the window so suddenly that it seemed to her that he had been dragged back by some irresistible force from behind.
Oh, gracious me.
One singular point which struck her quick feminine eye was that although he wore the coat he had left for London in, he wore neither collar nor tie.
Well, what did she do?
Rushed down the steps into the Bar of Gold and attempted to go up the staircase leading to the second floor.
I suppose that Oriental fellow that I talked to tonight stopped her.
Exactly. In fact, he pushed her out of the door and slammed it after her. She rushed down the lane and a few moments later was lucky enough to meet a sergeant and 2 constables.
She took them back with her to the Bar of Gold, of course.
Yes. They went with her to the room in which Neville St. Clair had last been seen. Of course, there was no sign of him. In fact, on the whole floor, there was no one to be found except a hideous, deformed beggar who seemed to live there. From what Mrs. St. Clair told me, it appears that the sergeant conducted the examination quite intelligently.
You saw your husband at this window, Mrs. St. Clair?
I'm positive, Sergeant.
And Alaska swears no one's been upstairs this afternoon. Well, he's probably lying. But let's see what this cripple fellow has to say for himself. Here, you.
What do you want with me? I ain't done nothing.
Now, you heard what this lady said. Did you see her husband go in this room a few minutes ago?
I didn't see nobody, and I've been here all the afternoon.
You live here?
Yes.
And you swear on oath that no one's been in this room for the last few hours?
Yes, I do.
Mrs. St. Clair, I know that you think you saw your husband, but don't you suppose...
Look on the table.
It's just a wooden box, Mum.
But I know what's inside it. There, see?
Oh, it's a lot of wooden bricks like kids play with.
My husband came to London today especially to buy them for our son. You can't disbelieve me now, Sergeant.
Don't think I can, Mum. I'll take another look round. Where does this door lead to?
My bedroom. You won't find nothing in there.
Oh, we'll look just the same. Hello. There's bloodstains on this window ledge. Fresh bloodstains. How do you account for that?
Well, I don't know nothing about it.
And the window overlooks the river, just where the water's good and deep, too. Nice place to tip a body out. Here, come here, you.
Yeah, I ain't done nothing.
You've got bloodstains on your right sleeve. What do you got to say about that?
Well, I cut my finger, see? And then I went and opened the window later. That's how the blood got there.
Did you think I was born yesterday? Let's have a look in this chest of drawers. Hello. Hello, whose clothes are these? Pair of trousers, socks, shoes, hat, everything except the coat, eh? Mrs. St. Clair, will you come in here, please, Mum?
What have you found, Sergeant?
these clothes. Are they your husband's, Mum?
Yes. Yes, they are. What's happened to him, Sergeant?
I'm afraid he's met with foul play, Mum. And this man knows what happened, only he won't talk.
I don't know nothing, I tell you.
Oh, don't you? Well, I arrest you in the name of the law, and I warn you that anything you say...
And so, Watson, the sergeant arrested this crippled beggar.
No, I'm not surprised. What have they been able to find out about him?
Surprisingly little. His name is Hugh Boone. And he's a professional beggar, quite a successful one, I gather. His pathetic appearance attracts great sympathy. There's a shock of orange hair and a pale face that is disfigured by a horrible scar which has twisted the outer edge of his upper lip.
And he was the last man to see Neville St. Clair alive, eh?
So it would seem. The Lascar downstairs has been cross-examined relentlessly, but he swears that he has no knowledge of the crime.
Have there been any further developments?
Oh, yes, old chap. Yes, indeed there have. The ebbing tide gave a fresh clue.
You mean St. Clair's body was washed up?
No, his coat.
What?
With every pocket stuffed with pennies and halfpennies. 421 pennies and 270 halfpennies, to be exact. There's no wonder that it had not been swept away by the tide.
But a human body was a different matter.
Yes, there's a strong eddy between the house and the wharf. It seems likely that the weighted coat had remained when the stripped body had been carried away into the river.
Well, the other clothes were found in the room. Why would the body be dressed in a coat alone?
We can only surmise, old chap, but supposing that this man Boone had thrust Neville St. Clair through the window and into the river, what would he do then?
Try and dispose of the telltale garments.
Yes, that would be logical, wouldn't it? He would seize the coat and be in the act of throwing it out of the window when it would occur to him that it would float and not sink.
So he loaded the pockets with coins to make it sink?
Quite so.
Yes, of course.
But he has little time, for he has heard the scuffle downstairs when Mrs. St. Clair tried to force her way up. He only succeeded in getting as far as throwing the coat out when the police arrived on the scene.
Well, that seems perfectly feasible.
Well, it'll do as a working hypothesis anyway.
Neville St. Clair disappeared on Monday, and yet we still don't know what he was doing in the opium den. What happened to him when he got there, or where he is now?
Oh, what Hugh Boone, the beggar with the twisted lip, had to do with his disappearance. Now, here we are at our destination.
Well, there's a light burning. Mrs. St. Clair must be waiting up for you.
Yes, poor woman. I hate to return here with no news of her husband, but she's being brave, Watson, extremely brave. We must do everything we can to comfort her.
Dr. Watson, I'm so grateful that you were able to come down and help your friend.
Oh, I only hope that I can be of some help, Mrs. St. Clair.
I see that you have no good news for me, Mr. Holmes.
I'm afraid not.
No bad.
No.
Thank heaven for that. Mr. Holmes, tell me honestly, do you think that Neville is still alive?
Well,
Frankly now.
Frankly, then I don't.
You think he's murdered?
Oh, I don't say that, but perhaps you see...
And on what day did he meet his death?
On Monday.
Then perhaps, Mr. Holmes, you can explain how I received a letter from him today.
What?
Well, where is the letter, madam?
Here.
Let me see it. This is very crude writing on the envelope. Surely it's not your husband's hand?
No, but the writing in the letter is.
Uh-huh. This letter contained an enclosure.
Yes, there was a ring. His signet ring.
What does the letter say, Holmes?
Dearest, do not be frightened. All will come well. There is a huge error which it may take some little time to rectify. Wait in patience. And it's signed Neville. Mm-hmm. Written in pencil on the flyleaf of a notebook. No watermark. Posted today in Gravesend by a man with a dirty thumb. Mm-hmm. And the flap has been gummed, if I'm not mistaken, by a man who has been chewing tobacco.
My husband must be alive, Mr. Holmes.
This might be a clever forgery to put us off the track.
But the signet ring.
Yes, it may have been taken from him.
But the handwriting, and then the postmark.
Might have been written on Monday and only posted today.
I won't be discouraged,
Mrs.
Mr.
St.
Holmes.
Clair, I have no wish to discourage you. I'm just trying to be practical. If your husband is alive and able to write letters, why should he remain away from you?
I can't imagine.
He made no special remarks before leaving on Monday?
No, none. Except to say that he was going to buy the wooden blocks.
When you saw him at the Bar of Gold in Swandam Lane, was the window open?
Yes.
Then he might have called you.
He might.
As I understand it, he gave An inarticulate cry, a call for help, you thought.
Yes, he waved his hands.
But it might have been a cry of surprise. Astonishment at the unexpected sight of you might have caused him to throw up his hands.
I suppose so.
And you thought that he was pulled back from the window.
Yes, because he disappeared so abruptly.
He might have leaped back, mightn't he?
He might have, though I can't think why.
One last question. Had your husband ever shown signs of, taking opium?
Why, no, never, Mr. Holmes. I'm certain the idea would have revolted him.
Thank you, Mrs. Sinclair. Those were the principal points I wanted to be clear on. And now, Watson, I suggest we retire for the night. We may have a busy day ahead of us tomorrow.
I hope you both sleep well. Good night, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Watson.
Good night, Mrs. Sinclair, and keep up your courage.
Good night, Mrs. Sinclair. We must hope for the best. The clouds seem lighter, though I should not venture to say that danger is over.
You'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a second. So I'm just going to remind you that when you buy Petri California sherry, you have a choice of two kinds of sherry. You can choose Petri regular sherry, or if you prefer your sherry dry, not sweet, ask for Petri pale dry sherry. They're both fine wines. And if you don't know which you'd prefer, don't buy one, buy two. Buy them both and try them both. And remember this. Petri sherry is the perfect all-round, all-occasion wine. It's good before dinner, after dinner, at cocktail time, and any time. Just be sure you get Petri. Petri sherry. Well, Dr. Watson, you and the great Sherlock Holmes certainly deserved a good night's rest. Did you get it?
I did, Mr. Bartell, but Holmes made no attempt to sleep. As soon as we retired upstairs, he donned a blue silk dressing gown and then wandered about the room, collecting pillows from his bed and cushions from the sofa and the armchairs. With these, he constructed a sort of Eastern divan on which he perched himself cross-legged with an ounce of shag tobacco and a box of matches laid out in front of him.
He was all set for a session of thinking, I guess, huh?
Yes, my boy. In the dim light of the lamp, I saw him sitting there, an old briar pipe clenched in his teeth, his eyes fixed vacantly on a corner of the ceiling, the blue smoke curling up from him, silent, motionless. So he sat as I dropped off to sleep, and so he sat when I wakened in the morning to find the summer sun shining into the room. The pipe was still between his lips, the smoke still curled upward, and the room was full of a dense tobacco haze. But nothing remained of the heap of shag which I had seen on the previous night.
Watson. Awake, Watson?
What time is it?
20 minutes past 4.
Lord Holmes, you haven't been to bed.
True, old chap, I had to think. I couldn't allow my brain the luxury of sleeping. You game for a morning drive?
Yes, certainly. I'll get dressed.
Good. No one's stirring yet, but I know where the stable boy sleeps. I'll have the horse and trap out in no time at all.
Oh, where are we going?
To prison. To visit Hugh Boone, the man with the twisted lip.
Holmes, you're unusually excited. What's on your mind?
I want to test a little theory. I think, Watson, that you are now standing in the presence of one of the most absolute fools in Europe. I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross, but I think I have the key to the affair now.
Oh, where is it?
In the bathroom.
What? You're joking, Holmes.
No, I've just been there and removed it. It's in my coat pocket now. Hurry and get dressed, old chap. Then we'll drive over to the prison and see whether my key fits the lock.
Good morning, Mr. Holmes. Dr. Watson.
Good morning, officer. Good morning.
Well, you're a couple of early birds, and no mistake.
Yes, Constable. We're searching for the proverbial worm. Who's on duty?
Inspector Bradstreet, sir.
Oh,
here he is now.
Good morning, Bradstreet.
Oh, hello, Mr. Holmes. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Inspector.
What can I do for you, gentlemen?
We called about Hugh Boone, the beggar man who is charged with being concerned in the disappearance of Mr. Neville St. Clair. You have him here?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. He's in the cells. I'll take you to him. Follow me, will you, gentlemen?
Thank you.
Well, what kind of a prisoner has he been, Inspector?
Oh, he hasn't given us any trouble, but he's a dirty devil. It's as much as we can do to make him wash his hands. His face is as black as a tinker's.
So he has an aversion to washing, has he?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Well, once his case has been settled, he'll have a regular prison bath, and when you see him, I think you'll agree with me that he needs it. Well, here we are. This is his cell. He's still asleep.
Good Lord, what a filthy, repulsive-looking fellow.
Yes, he's a beauty, isn't he? Want to go in, Mr. Holmes?
Please, Inspector.
Well, he certainly needs a wash.
Yes, I had an idea that he might. That's why I brought this sponge along in my pocket.
Oh, so that was the key that you found in the bathroom.
Oh, you're a funny one, Mr. Holmes, and no mistake. What did you bring a sponge along for?
I'll show you. Is there any water in this cell?
Hey, in the jug on the table there.
Yes. I soak the sponge in the water so, and then apply it to the prisoner's face, so.
Great Scott, his complexion's 3 shades lighter underneath, and the scar on his lip has disappeared.
What are you doing to me?
Now a tug on this mop of red hair, and I think we'll find it's a wig. Yes, come on. That's right. Let me introduce you to Mr. Neville St. Clair of Lee in the county of Kent.
Good Lord, Mr. Holmes, it's the missing man, all right. I recognize him from the photographs.
All right. I'm Neville St. Clair. What am I charged with?
With making away with Mr. Neville St. Oh, no, you can't be charged with that unless we make a case of attempted suicide of it.
Well, since I'm the missing man, then it's obvious that no crime has been committed, and therefore I'm illegally detained.
No crime, but a very great error has been committed. You would have done better to have trusted your wife.
It wasn't only my wife, it was the children. I couldn't bear to have them know that their father was a common beggar. Now you've exposed me. What can I do?
Well, if you leave it to a court of law to clear this matter up, sir, you can hardly avoid newspaper publicity. But if you're perfectly honest with us now, I'm sure that the inspector and Mr. Holmes won't be too hard on you.
No, Mr. St. Clair. Inspector Bradstreet will, I'm sure, make notes on the information that you give us and submit them to the proper authorities. But now, sir, your story, please. Why have you been posing as Hugh Boone, a crippled beggar with a twisted lip?
Well, it's a simple enough story. Some years ago, I was a newspaper reporter. One day, my editor wanted an article on begging in the London metropolis.
I suppose you thought the best way to get your facts was to disguise yourself as a beggar.
Yes, I'd been an actor in my youth, and it wasn't hard for me to adopt a convincing disguise. But that was the point where all my troubles started. On that first day I sat in the London streets, I found to my amazement that I received no less than 26 shillings and 4
Almost as much as your weekly salary as a reporter, I imagine.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Well, you can imagine how hard it was to settle down to arduous work at £2 a week when I knew that I could earn as much in a couple of days by smearing my face with paint, laying my cap on the ground, and sitting still. Only one man knew my secret.
The Lascar at the Bar of Gold in Upper Swandam Lane, eh?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. Mm-hmm. Every morning I would emerge from there dressed as a beggar, and in the evenings I'd return and transform myself into a well-dressed man about town. The fellow was well paid for his rooms, and well, I knew that my secret was safe in his possession.
And when you got married, you couldn't bring yourself to confide in your wife, I suppose.
No, I couldn't. My wife knew that I had a business in the city. She little knew what.
When you saw your wife from the window last Monday, you quickly changed back into the character of the beggar, I suppose.
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
Of course.
And then weighted my coat and threw it into the river.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think there's anything else I need explain, is there, gentlemen?
One point. The signet ring that you sent your wife.
Well, I knew that she'd be worrying. So I gave it to the Lascar at a moment when no constable was watching me, together with a hastily scribbled note.
That note only reached her last night, Mr. Sinclair.
Last night? Oh, poor Catherine. What a dreadful week she must have spent.
The police have been watching that Lascar. He probably found it difficult to post the letter for you without being spotted.
Yes, I would surmise he gave it to a sailor customer of his to post. A sailor who chewed tobacco and had a dirty thumb. Yes, I think all the ends are tied off very neatly now. One last question, Mr. Sinclair. Have you ever been prosecuted for begging?
Oh, many times, but what was a fine to me?
It's got to stop here and now, Mr. Sinclair. And if the police had asked this thing up, there must be no more of you, Boone, the beggar.
I swear it.
And you must tell your wife the truth at once. If you'd done that a long time ago, you'd have saved both of yourselves a very great deal of misery, sir.
I shall tell her everything.
Well, Mr. Holmes, we're very much obliged to you for having cleared this matter up. I wish I knew how you reached your results, though.
Well, in this case, my dear Inspector, I reached them by sitting upon 5 pillows and consuming an ounce of shag tobacco. I only wish that all my problems might be solved so comfortably.
Well, Doctor, that was some story. Imagine arresting a man for committing a murder and then finding out that he's the fellow who's supposed to be dead.
It is a bit bewildering, isn't it?
You said it. Boy, being a detective sure has its surprises. Nothing like that ever happens to me.
Oh, come. One would believe to hear you talk that you lead a very uneventful life.
Oh, but I do, Doctor, I do. Why, I never get any surprises. Look, I tell our friends that Petri wine is always good wine. And what happens?
Oh, what does happen?
Everybody agrees it's good wine, and that's that. Well, it's just got to be. After all, the Petri family has been making wine for generations. Winemaking is their heritage. A heritage passed on down from father to son, from father to son, from generation to generation. The Petri family knows full well the art of turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. And because the making of Petri wine is a family affair, you can be sure that the name Petri on a bottle of wine really stands for something. It's your assurance that every drop of wine in that bottle is good wine. No matter what type wine you prefer, you'll never go wrong with a Petri wine because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Well, Dr. Watson, what new Sherlock Holmes adventure are you planning to tell us next week?
Well, now let me see. Next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you a weird story of violence and of sudden death that struck without warning. I call it The Strange Adventure of the Uneasy Easy Chair.
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure was adapted by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's story, The Man with the Twisted Lip. Music is by Dean Fostler. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invite you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family.
Welcome back. Well, this is the last episode that Basil Rathbone does on this series. That's taken directly from an original Sherlock Holmes story. This one was interesting because there wasn't actually a crime, which is very unusual for a Holmes story. Of course, you can think of some parallels. I can think of a couple in the Father Brown story, perhaps the best of which was the absence of Mr. Glass. One interesting point I gleaned from the Wikipedia article on this is that Dorothy Sayers actually used a similar a plot element from this story in her book, Strong Poison, which was published about 40 years after The Man with the Twisted Lip first appeared. We've had a couple pretty peaceful days over the Thanksgiving holiday. In terms of almost actually no body count, no arrest. All right, well, we do have one comment. This one comes from Jane, and she writes on the Sherlock Holmes page we have over at the site, comments, just to express a huge appreciation for the special hour-long Mercury Theater production of the Sherlock Holmes podcast featuring Orson Welles. What a tour de force. Adam's amount of information, fore and aft, add to the knowledge and enjoyment tremendously. Agree that this was like a play, and what an impeccable accent. We truly did lose a man of towering characterization abilities to the star system. Am truly indebted to learn the importance of the American actor William Gillette, who first brought Sherlock Holmes to the stage with Arthur Conan Doyle's permission. Astounded to discover Gillette formulated the phrase, this is elementary, my dear fellow. As a Brit, great to know, too, that as an American he powerfully created the prototype Holmes on stage and for radio, which had been faithfully followed by a vast array of successive Holmes in similar mold. Well, thanks a lot, Jane. And I was actually glad to learn a lot of this, too. That does seem to be a bit of a pattern for the show, is that I don't start out knowing everything, but I need to do some research and get the information together, so I got something interesting to share with you. By the way, if you want to, find a particular episode and say you started listening somewhat recently, we have archives of all the shows we do over at greatdetectives.net, and you can just click on a title, download it. Pretty simple. The one for Sherlock Holmes is just the Holmes link right along the top over at greatdetectives.net. Well, I hope if you're in the United States you had a great Thanksgiving. Well, that'll do it for now. Well, before we get into today's episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, I do want to ever so briefly remind you about Johnny Dollar Air. Johnny Dollar Air is powered by Priceline, so you got the option of either naming your own price on hotels, rental cars, cruises, airline tickets, or even more, or choosing from published specials. So support the great detectives of old-time radio, and as you make your travel plans, think of JohnnyDollarAir.com first. Well, yours truly, Johnny Dollar, returned from its about 1-month hiatus with the Howard Caldwell matter.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Edmund O'Brien as
Johnny Dollar.
This is Mrs. Ernest Caldwell, Mr. Dollar.
Oh, yes, Mrs. Caldwell. I'm the investigator your insurance company has hired to look for your son.
Yes, I understood that from the message you left. Howard is dead, Mr. Dollar.
When did you learn this?
I don't have to learn. One of those things a mother feels. My son was a part of me. And when he died, I felt it.
Oh, I see. Well, an insurance company is bound to operate from a basis of fact, not intuition. If you're going to be in this afternoon, I'd like to drop by and talk to you about them.
Edmund O'Brien in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Britannia Life Insurance Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of my expenditures during investigation of the Howard Caldwell matter. Expense account item 1, $6.50 transportation round trip between my Hartford apartment and the Caldwell country estate. From every angle, inside and out, the place looked more like a museum than a dwelling. And Mrs. Caldwell struck me as the mother of all the answers as to why boys leave home.
I don't know why Howard left. I simply can't understand it. No mother could have been more devoted than I. Except at school, I never left him alone for a moment. I made him share everything with me. I protected him and I advised him. And yet...
Yeah. Well, now let's get these facts in order. Name, Howard. Age 23, left here for San Francisco, California about a year ago. What was he doing in San Francisco?
Oh, he was studying to be an artist. In a rather deceitful way. He knew I didn't approve. He told me he wanted to go to the coast to see a football game. Then he wired me that it had been delayed. And the next thing I knew, this letter arrived, saying that he'd met some people out there, that he didn't need any money, and that he'd enrolled in this art school. I didn't believe it. I knew he was in trouble then.
What's the name of the school?
The Orlando School of Art. I wrote and begged him to come back, and he answered that he thought it would be better if he didn't, as if he were being threatened.
Why would anybody threaten him?
Well, I don't know. He told me very little of what he was doing. That's why I knew he was in trouble. Because we always shared everything. He'd never kept secrets from me.
I think you're exaggerating this thing, Mrs. Caldwell.
I tell you I'm not.
You haven't told me any one thing that I
What
can...
should I think when he writes that I'll never see him again? When he tells me not to go to the police because it won't do any good? That he's gone to another life? Here's a letter. Read it for yourself.
The letter did say that. The date on it was a week old, and it went on to make other vague references to danger and death. But a statement that the mother had ignored came to my mind closest to the truth. Howard Caldwell had written, "If I had been mentally equipped for life as other people are, this wouldn't have happened, and I could have lived."
This Johnny, a life insurance company, Mr. Nathan's office.
This is Johnny Dollar. Is he in?
Oh, yes, Mr. Dollar. Just a second.
Well, Dollar, that was a quick trip. What do you think of Mrs. Caldwell?
Well, that's neither here nor there. How'd she happen to turn to you?
Her lawyer advised her to. See, we carry a big policy on the son. The lawyer told her that putting the problem in our lap is the best way to do it. And there was something about a letter advising her not to go to the police.
Yeah, I read it.
Well, we ordinarily don't do this sort of thing, as you know, but it's a matter of $200,000. Did it sound like suicide to you?
Well, it sounded vague. He's been writing his mother a lot of double talk that she's been interpreting in her own motherly way. She was supposed to come home this summer and didn't. I don't know what to make of it. If you want to find out anything, you won't get it from her.
Did you go out to San Francisco?
Oh, sure, but let's not share this with Mrs. C. She'd probably beat me out there. Expense account item 2, $200 airfare and incidental costs, Hartford to San Francisco. Expense account item 3, $170 cab fare from my hotel, the Bellevue, to the last known address of Howard Caldwell. A brownstone in a row of brownstones on Taylor, a street that climbs one of San Francisco's 7 hills. The apartment house manager was in and would oblige.
Well, he hasn't been here for a week and a half. I've been taking his mail up to his apartment, but his box gets so full they can't get any more in.
The apartment is still in his name?
He paid up 3 months in advance.
You mind if I look it over?
Well, I suppose it's all right if you're trying to help it. It's up here.
Mr. Caldwell say anything to you about leaving?
Well, no, he didn't. I hope there isn't any trouble. But you'd think he'd come for some of his clothes if there wasn't, wouldn't you?
They're still here?
I couldn't help noticing after he'd been gone so long, without a word.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this is it. 22. After you.
Thanks.
There's all this mail on the table. I hope everything's all right. He's a nice, likable young man.
Know any of his friends?
Well, no, I don't. I expect he had some, though. He was out at night lots. He never came home drunk or anything, no.
Well, if you don't mind, I think I'll run through the place. I won't be long.
Well, I suppose it's all right as long as I'm here.
After I'd finished, I knew very little about Howard Caldwell that I hadn't already known. The letters on the table were, as to be expected, all from his mother. A drawer in a bedside table gave me something too odd to be ignored. 25 or 30 match folders, all from bars or restaurants, all empty of matches, and each marked in pencil with a date. The earliest, May 4th, 1950. The most recent, September 12th. A closet gave me a portfolio of sketches from various perspectives, and they looked like a brunette. Nothing else in the place seemed to point in any direction, so I copied the addresses on the match folders and helped myself to 3 of the most descriptive sketches. Expense account item 4, $1.30 cab fare to the Orlando School of Art.
How do you do? I'm Beatrice Orlando. Did you wish to see me?
Yes, I'm a private investigator from Hartford, Connecticut. I'm here trying to locate a student of yours.
Howard Caldwell.
That's right. You're fast.
Not at all. I take a personal interest in my student. It is so strange the way he just stopped coming to class. He's doing so nicely and seems to enjoy his work. Is he in trouble?
I don't know. I wonder if you could tell me which of his classmates were personal friends of his.
I don't think any of them were.
Mm-hmm. Here. Look at these.
Oh. Yes, that's Howard's work. Excellent, don't you think? That model. She must be a gorgeous girl.
Isn't she one of your models?
I only wish she were. Remarkable, the lines and planes.
Yeah. Do you think she's real?
Drawn from life, of course. No wonder he didn't bother to make friends here.
Expense account item 5, $45, see enclosed bar tab. That night I started making the rounds of the addresses I'd copied from Howard Caldwell's collection of dated match folders. They led me from San Francisco's North Beach section to another area called the Mission, across the bay to the city of Oakland, and back to San Francisco. The only pattern I could set up was that none of the joints were worth remembering. They were neighborhood bars, as a rule, and the routine in each was about the same, except at the one called the stop sign.
Is the drink all right, mister?
Yeah, it's fine. Say, I wonder if you could help me.
How?
I'm looking for an old friend of mine. I understand he used to come into this bar. Here. Here's a photograph of him. Name's Howard.
No, I don't remember him. I got mine for faces, too.
And then look at this. It's only a sketch. Have you ever seen a girl who looks like this?
It's a gag.
No, it isn't. Makes you think it would be.
You mean this is a drawing of a real dame?
That's right.
And for 10 or 20 bucks extra, I can have the genuine photograph to hang up behind my... Get out of here.
Wait a minute. Has somebody tried to sell you a deal like that?
You're the first, and I can tell you won't go over in this town.
I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Well, then go someplace else and don't try. I never saw the guy or the dame, and I don't expect to, didn't I?
Hey, let me see a picture, will you?
Sorry, Mac, it's private.
Wait a minute. Maybe I know who she is.
Why should you?
Because I know everybody that comes to this bar. If her boyfriend's name is Howard, I bet I know him.
That's what I said it was.
Did you say it was Caldwell?
Where can we talk?
Come on, outside.
You know where Caldwell is?
Yes, sucker, I know where he is. Keep it quiet.
Hey.
We'll both keep it quiet, huh? I'll take this out of your ribs if you play ball.
That's the deal.
Up to the corner, then, and across the street. Now across that parking lot. The yellow club coupe. Don't bother memorizing the license number. It's phony. There he is.
How are you? I'm fine. Thanks for asking.
Get in the back. We could drive out toward the beach, JB. What do you think?
That's better than here. I'll swing over to Fulton and take that out.
How'd you get the addresses of these bars?
How did you find out about me?
We've been waiting for somebody to show up. Been watching his apartment. We saw you go in and then tailed you to that school.
Is Caldwell alive?
Yeah, but he won't stay that way if people start prying.
Why not?
Who hired you?
I'm a private investigator. I'm not supposed to tell people things like that.
We aren't getting any place, are we? Now, look, from where you sit, how is it going to hurt you to tell us? You looking for the old lady?
His insurance company. They carry a policy on it.
Well, lay off, JB. It's not funny.
The devil it is.
Stupid jerk. Watch it, JB, will you? I've only got one thing to say, Dollar. Stop looking for them. Leave things the way they are. I'm giving you the best advice anybody could. Drop it. Go on home.
Can't do it. I'm stuck. You ought to understand that. It's my business. If I give up on one job, I'll never get another.
Yeah, I guess you got a point at that. Drive him back to his hotel, JB. It's Bellevue, isn't it?
Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, what is it?
It's 5:30. The early edition seeing the streets.
What? Who is this?
You'll remember when you wake up. Go buy an Examiner. Page 1. Headlines.
Yes, sir.
Huh? Send me some coffee, will you? And the early Examiner.
Yes, sir. I think the coffee shop is just open.
A couple of cigarettes later, room service arrived. The headline read, Syndicate head found slain in auto trunk. Benjamin Miller, Western gang chief, shot to death. I didn't see how there could be any connection between a dead mobster and the Howard Caldwell matter. But that only proves how wrong an investigator can be.
In just a moment, we will return to the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Edmund O'Brien. But first, some more of radio's greatest stars check in at CBS The Stars address this Sunday night. The first you'll hear are Amos and Andy. Then, a little later this Sunday, we welcome Red Skelton back from summer vacation. With Joey Adams, Eve Arden, Jack Benny, and Corliss Archer already on hand to bring you great comedy, be sure you add Amos and Andy and Red Skelton to your Sunday night listening date, starting this Sunday over most of these same CBS stations. And now, back to our star, Edmund O'Brien, and the second act of yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
The story under the headlines went on to explain that Benjamin Miller's body had been found in an abandoned car after a phone tip at 11:15 the preceding night. Chief had been shot to death approximately a week before. It was feared that an underworld war would be touched off by the killing, since Eastern operators allegedly had threatened to force Miller out of business on the West Coast. The police had decided to play a waiting game. No lead in all that. But on page 4, there was a picture. Ben Miller in happier days. At his side stood a brunette that matched the one in Caldwell's sketches point for point. Nora Rush, with an address on Ardmore Street in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
Does this hotel have a travel agency?
It's only 6, sir, and they haven't opened, but maybe I could help.
Well, I want to leave for Los Angeles as quickly as I can. What plane is there?
Oh, I can tell you that. Just a moment, please. Sir, United Airlines have a flight leaving in 45 minutes.
Can I make it?
It'll be close, sir. I could phone for you and get space if possible.
Oh, I'll thank you later, Angel. Just one more thing. If I get any calls, you don't know where I am, huh?
Yes, sir.
Expense account item 7, $5 cab fare and $5 tip for a taxi driver who got me to the airport in 20 minutes. Item 8, $20, United Airlines to Los Angeles. And item 9, same as 7, taxi trip to Nora Rush's Ardmore Street address. I arrived there at 9:15. She was still in a robe when she answered the door, but the trace of makeup, which was all she needed for her face, and the soft hairdo made me wonder if she was expecting me.
There's certainly no reason to be anything but truthful. Yes, I've been expecting you. Won't you come in, Mr. Jones?
Thanks.
Come in here.
You have good friends in San Francisco.
Yes, I have. Very good friends. Just put your coat any place and sit down.
Thank you. Well, then I take it they've told you why I'm on the West Coast.
Yes. You've come to look for Howard Caldwell. Coffee. Would you like some?
No, thanks. I've had plenty. Do you know where he is?
No, I don't. No, I don't know where he is. I don't know.
Oh, come on now. Stop that.
Why did you go? Why did you go?
That was the end of the test run. I rattled around the rest of the place for almost an hour while I waited for her to come out of the bedroom. I didn't feel like snooping, but I couldn't help seeing a framed photograph that had been hastily hidden under a mat on the piano. It was young Caldwell, but not the subdued, dead-faced kid in the picture I'd gotten at his Connecticut estate. Instead, a guy with some enthusiasm in his friendly eyes. I was in the kitchen drinking the coffee when she came out.
What are you doing?
Waiting for you?
Why don't you leave?
Well, if I did, somebody else just like me would show up. Maybe he'd make you unhappier than I do. That kind of a racket.
I sympathize with you.
You should. You put me on the defensive.
I hadn't noticed. How did I do that?
You started by posing for some sketches. You're stronger in person.
You saw them?
Yeah. In a hotel room in San Francisco. Or at least, that's where I left them.
Who else saw them?
Two bartenders, And his art teacher.
Little fool. Told me you destroyed him. Did you say bartender?
Yeah. He had a match folder collection, all dated from a series of nondescript hideaway-type bars.
Oh, how could he have been so stupid?
Could he have been in love?
Well, he didn't have to go out of his mind. He lied to me. He told me there was nothing to link us together.
What's the difference if there is?
Because Howard killed Ben Miller. And nobody will believe it now.
Why won't they believe it?
It was my gun.
Registered?
Yes.
Where is it?
Howard has it hidden. I loved him and all that. But the true story has got to be.
You haven't told me.
I will, Mr. Paul. I have to sit down.
Come on, over here. How did you meet Caldwell?
I was going with Ben Miller. Not because I thought anything about him, but he was so powerful out here, and I'd just come from Chicago.
Caldwell?
Well, it was one of those parties. Some of the models from the Orlando school were invited to chill out. It was Howard's school, and one of the girls had talked him into coming. That's when we met. There was something about it. I don't know.
This is in May, I take it.
I think so. Spring in May. He was supposed to go home for the summer and didn't. I'd meet him in these bars, and he'd come to my place when Ben was out of town. He wanted to sketch me, so it's not important. Ben saw me meet him and followed us to my apartment.
This was at your place? You had an apartment in San Francisco?
Yes. Ben hit me, and Howard went for the gun and killed him.
He knew where you kept the gun?
Yes.
Why? How did he know?
In case he ever needed it.
Miller's body was found stuffed into the trunk of a car.
You don't believe it, do you?
Well, there are little things like how did he manage to get the body into the trunk of that car, and how did he manage to steal the car?
I'll tell you. He had help. Everybody knew that combination from the East was moving in on Ben, and would have to. So they've been trying to help Howard. And it was all right till you came out here.
Oh, that's a pretty good setup. Ben Miller would be checked off as a gang killing, the kind they so seldom get around to solving. When it cooled off, you could take up where you dropped him.
I didn't kill him.
A plural you. You're all in it. But I can't quite figure it.
What?
Why those two friends of yours who picked me up last night would go to bat for a worthless Eastern aristocrat.
They want to help him.
Why?
Well, my friend. Why should anybody take a rap for killing a man like Ben Miller? You don't want him to die for it, do you?
Do you?
Of course not. We're trying to help him. What are you going to do?
Well, the Frisco police are combing the city for leads on the scene of the murder weapon, and a definite link between dead man and killer. I seem to be sitting on all three.
You aren't going to the police.
That depends on how fast you tell me where Caldwell is. I want to hear his version of the story.
I don't know where he is. I told you that.
Yeah, I know you did.
Wait now, please, Dennis. Please. Just a minute, please.
Oh, will you stop it?
Just listen to me. I know what you think of me, and I know you don't believe me. But I wish you would, just for a little while.
How long?
An hour or so. My brothers are flying down. They'll be here by noon.
Brothers?
The men you met last night. I wish you before you do anything. You won't be honest.
I wish you had hit me over the head with something.
It's a funny thing to say.
Well, what I mean is that kind of trouble makes me mad enough to fight.
Here they are, Johnny. I'll go.
Wait a minute. Sit down. We're back in business again, gorgeous. Sorry. I'll let him in.
All right, go ahead, you stubborn jerk.
Come in. Where's the other one?
He stayed in Frisco. Sorry I couldn't get here faster, honey. Are you all right?
I'm all right, Al.
Did you tell him how it happened?
Yes.
He told me and we made a deal. I wouldn't phone the police until I talked to you. Still stands.
Can I get you anything, Al?
Yeah, a drink would help.
All right.
Look, Dollar, for some reason my sister fell for this kid. I guess it was the first time in her life that something decent came along for her. He wanted to marry her, and it fell to pieces when Caldwell lost his head and shot Ben.
What really happened, Al?
Ben made a lot of threats and stirred up all the mud in Nora's life. She tried to stop him, he slugged her, and
That was it.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there, but that's what happened. Leave it alone, Dollar. Ben had the finger on him anyway. Why not let it cool off?
There are a number of reasons. Unfortunately, I'm burdened down with a vague but heavy thing called ethics. Says so on my license. Another thing, if I forget it, it makes me an accessory to the killing. But most important at the moment is the fact that I'm not sure that Caldwell is guilty.
Keep coming, Dollar.
It would make more sense if you were protecting your sister instead of that punk. Would you agree?
It's not true.
Stay out of it, honey.
Isn't that why all of you have been working so hard to keep me away from Caldwell? Because you don't want me to hear his pitch?
Okay, I'll take you to him. He's here in Los Angeles.
Al.
For the drinks. I'm giving ground, Dollar. What do I get from you?
You've already gotten it. I didn't call the police.
Somebody is going to blow your head off one of these times, Dollar. There's a car in the garage, honey. This is it. Upstairs.
Quite a come down for a scion type.
That's a good spot for him. You could live in this part of town for 100 years, and nobody would know who you were or what you were unless you wanted them to. Up front here. Howard. Howard. It's Al, Howard. Howard.
What about it, Al? What's this?
We told him not to leave.
No clothes. There's an empty room, Al.
Where he was. You can check downstairs. He used the name Harris.
Save it, Al.
There's only one place he'll go, to Nora's.
I'll try the rest of this without you. You've got nothing but a mouthful of lies. I don't want any more of them. Come on, get out of my way. Caldwell here?
Yes, he's been here all morning. Right after you did and hid outside. He's like a crazy.
Where is he?
In the bedroom.
You stay here. My first sight of the all-important Howard Caldwell was not a pleasant one. He was face down on the bed, his head buried in a pillow, and his body shaking with sobs. It took 30 minutes of treatment, some of it not too gentle, to get him into a chair in a reasonably sane state.
I'm glad you came. I'm glad you found me. I'm glad to talk to somebody who is stupid.
I want you to calm down, Howard, and tell me what happened.
What happened? You know her, and I do too. She didn't want to marry me. She wanted to marry my respectable name. Money.
Who killed Ben Miller?
I did. I killed him because I didn't know what else to do. Because I lived with these people, these low-class people, and I began to think like them. Because I've never thought to myself all my life. I've never done anything before. Anything. I killed Ben Miller, and it's the only thing I've ever done all by myself.
Why did you risk all this to protect him?
I don't know. Because it was something that drew us together. He was lost, and so was I. And I figured it was my fault. I'd drawn him into my life. He hadn't drawn me into his. I thought I owed it to him. But he's a snob, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid so.
He called me a tramp. But I guess when you take a guy like him who wants to get away from his kind of life, and a dame like me who wants to get away from her kind, neither one can figure it out. What can you expect but trouble?
I guess she summed it up as well as anybody could. I turned him in for murder, and those who try to help him as accessories. It's for the legal brains to decide whether the policyholder will live or the executed. Expense account item 10, $200, miscellaneous. Item 11 is item 2, transportation back to Hartford. Count total $1,050. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
You're Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, stars Edmund O'Brien in the title role and was written by Gil Dowd with music by Wilbur Hatch. Edmund O'Brien may soon be seen in the Paramount picture Warpath. Featured in our cast were Lorene Tuttle, John McIntyre, Bob Sweeney, Hy Averback, John Boehner, Gene Bates, and Jeanette Nolan. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, is produced and directed by Jaime Del Valle. Join us next week at the same time when, from Hollywood, Edmund O'Brien returns in another adventure of...
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
This is Roy Rowan speaking. Stay tuned now for Vaughn Monroe's Caravan, which follows immediately over most of these same CBS stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Welcome back. Well, it's another one of those tragic Johnny Dollar episodes with kind of a surprising twist in terms of the femme fatale turning out not to be all that bad after all. I did have to keep adjusting my mind for inflation a couple places, particularly when he put down that trip from Los Angeles to San Francisco down as $20. You always have to keep inflation in mind, so probably about $150, $160 in today's money. Now we turn to listener comments. As expected, a couple comments regarding the Trans-Pacific export matter we played 2 weeks ago. And Tony O'Donohue simply says, I love Johnny Dollar. And Val says, me too. Heart him and his action-packed expense account. Thanks for the comments, and that'll actually do it for this week. We'll be back on Monday with The Thin Man, and next Friday with another episode of Johnny Dollar. Send your comments to box13 at greatdetectives.net. Become one of our friends over on Facebook, facebook.greatdetectives.net. But from Boise, Idaho, this is your host, Adam Graham, signing off.